Owens, known for standout singles like Trump One and Somali Waltz, comes her brand new release, The Boss, released on Real America's Music. This is the direct response to Bruce Springsteen's recent release, The Streets of Minneapolis. While Springsteen once branded himself as a voice of the working class, The Boss gives a voice to everyday Americans and reminds listeners who truly shapes the future. The Real America's Voice audience has the power to move charts and shake the industry. Download it right now. Scan the QR code or search The Boss on iTunes. Push it up the charts. Make them notice.
Thank God you're not.
Good morning. This is American Sunrise Early Edition. I am Brian Glenn. Here are the headlines that matter. First, America shoots down a cartel drone near El Paso. Aerial threats met with immediate force. Airspace locked down. Countermeasures deployed. President Trump making good on a promise. The border will be defended. Cartels are learning this is a different era. And then, a surge in American strength, 130,000 jobs added in January, expectations left behind, unemployment lower, workers rehired, paychecks restored. After years of uncertainty, the economic engine is firing again. America isn't stalling, it's moving. That coming up ahead. And in Canada, a deadly school shooting. 9 people dead. 27 injured, authorities identifying an 18-year-old transgender former student as a suspect. New questions are being raised about warning signs, mental health, and what was missed. All of this and more on today's edition of American Sunrise, which starts right now.
Welcome to American Sunrise Early Edition. The show where faith, freedom, and the values that built this nation take center stage.
You people and others like you built this country.
Join us as we break down the stories that matter.
FAFO.
If you don't know, now you know.
American Sunrise Early Edition on Real America's Voice starts now.
All right, good morning. Here's a fun way that you could start your day with us. Look at the bottom of your screen right now. That is a QR code, and that is your ticket to join the Weather Nation family. Scan it, get connected, and even better, your hometown forecast could be next. So head over to the Real America's Voice chats on Getter, Rumble, YouTube during the 9 o'clock hour of American Sunrise. And if you're selected, we'll deliver your hometown forecast live. So jump in and be a part of the fun and join us over on Weather Nation. Now joining us for today's forecast is Weather Nation's own Tracy Anthony. Tracy, good morning to you. I hope everything is fine in your world this morning. So what can we look forward to? We were talking before we came on air, and I said, look, I am over this cold weather here in Washington, D.C. Yes. I'm ready to thaw out.
You know what? I actually have a graphic for you. You do have a light at the end of the tunnel. So good news. You can thank me later, but we've got to get through one more system that's working on in the Northeast. You still have some lingering lake effect snow, but today's going to be relatively calm and quiet. Then across the southern plains over the next couple of days, we are talking rain and severe. So we're going to be tracking another system that's going to move over the Rockies and impact a good majority of the eastern U.S. And then California going to be dealing with some much needed moisture. So they have another system that's setting up as well. But high temperatures for the day today, we're already starting to feel a little bit warmer. So even as we get to DC, 39 degrees, the Twin Cities 45, and Salt Lake City in the 50s. So really from coast to coast, our temperatures are trending a little warmer than average, and that's going to stick around into the weekend this weekend. But here's the system that we're going to be watching as we have that moisture that's going to be lifting in from the Gulf Gulf. That's going to prime the environment. So now we have all the ingredients we need. And it's not just going to be wringing out rain. We do have that threat for strong and severe thunderstorms. So we're getting closer to that severe weather season. Typically starts to really ramp up as we get into March and into spring. But we will have 2 days of severe weather along with some hefty rainfall totals as the system works on through. And yes, for areas like DC, you could have a few snowflakes. But Brian, I definitely think we are going to stay on the warmer side, especially with our daytime highs above that freezing point for the weekend. And then, hey, we're digging out. Look at that. Next Wednesday, close to 60 degrees for you. So not too bad. Now, Daytona 500, that's this weekend. Looks like they're going to miss the rain. The rain's going to stay a little bit farther to the north. And for areas like Saranac Lake, New York, they are building an ice castle. I thought this was pretty cool. You know, Brian, we get a lot of videos coming from across the country. And have you ever been to an ice castle?
I have not. I have
been to one in Minnesota, and it's actually so cool. Like, oftentimes they make a slide in it. So I'm interested to see what this one ends up looking like.
Yeah. Now, the Gaylord Hotel in the Dallas-Fort Worth area has like this whole ice exhibit, and they have these gigantic, you know, I guess makeshift houses, but nothing out like that. But it is incredible to look at. And by the way, like, I've noticed it's going to take several days of the temperatures here in D.C. to hover in the 50s with some sunshine before those layer of snow and ice melts. I mean, it is almost unbelievable how long this stuff will stay on the ground.
Yeah, you know, and especially when the overnight temperature is still dropping below freezing, because then you get that refreeze. So next week, even the overnight temperatures look quite a bit warmer. So that's some good news for you.
That is some good news. And I know that as we get ready for spring, people will be hitting South Florida and many of the beaches across the country looking to thaw out a little bit from this harsh winter.
It's beautiful down here.
Yeah, I know it is. I wish I was on a plane. Which, by the way, NASCAR, I'm glad you brought that up, because NASCAR is one of those sports that you really have to pay attention to the weather forecast, because it takes one drop of rain to yellow flag an entire race. And I have been to the Daytona 500, and I've been through many rain delays, and it is not fun. So if you're going out to the track this weekend, keep your eyes to the sky. And Tracy, that's a good forecast for that. For the NASCAR fans I know out there are appreciating that.
Yeah, it looks dry for now, but it's going to be cloudy, so we'll have to keep a close eye on it. It might, you know, be a close call.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see you back on American Sunrise with our lucky hometown forecast selections. Like I said, scan that QR code at the bottom of your screen right now, and hopefully she'll deliver your hometown forecast. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep. We'll see you later.
All right, let's take a moment with this morning's Bible verse. It comes from Matthew 1:23. It says, "Behold, the virgin shall be with child and bear a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel," which is translated God with us. And boy, do we need God with us today. Let's turn to our top story right now. It's a major win for election integrity, but also a long time coming. Now, House Republicans passed the Save America Act, which requires proof of U.S. citizenship to register to vote, and then a photo ID at the ballot box when you actually go to vote. The bill also directs states to remove non-citizens from the voter rolls. Now, Speaker Mike Johnson calling it, quote, common sense. I think we can all agree with that. Saying if you need an ID to drive a car or open up a bank account, then you should need an ID to vote. Most Americans agree on this. But here's the question. If this is so common sense, why did it take the House Republicans so long to get it done? And that is, now that it's moved over to the Senate, this is where the real fight continues. Now, they've got some people right now that are holding out on voting. And overnight, a few were added to the list of John Thune contacted Mike Lee and said, add me on as a co-sponsor. But I'm going to go over a couple of countries that you need a photo ID to vote. And a lot of people say this is disenfranchising many Americans. 76% of black voters support having some type of voter ID. 80% of Hispanic voters support some form of voter ID. But here's some of the things you need an ID to go do. And obviously, Speaker Johnson laying out the case that you need to drive a car, open a bank account. But here's a few more. To travel, to do social services, for housing, for alcohol, tobacco, picking up tickets at a concert. There are numerous things that you need an ID to do. And for some reason, Democrats don't have a problem with that at all. But with coming to vote, they have a problem with that. But if they say it disenfranchises black voters, and that seems to be the biggest argument here in this, I'll go over, and which, by the way, in the Joe Biden election, they had some of the highest black turnout for voters in history. So apparently they turned out to vote in that election. But let me go over a few countries here, majority black countries that require a photo ID to vote. Haiti, Jamaica, Kenya, Ghana, Botswana, Brazil. These countries require an ID to vote. So this argument that it's racist, that it would all people, they're just not buying it. Now, we need 60 votes to overcome the filibuster. And Senator Ted Cruz put out a video last night urging his colleagues to get on board with this. It's very important. And my biggest problem with this, really, is the fact that why is it taking social pressure for our elected officials to get behind what is so common sense? You know, I can appreciate the ones that are just now coming on board and getting support behind the SAVE Act. But it's also at the same time, this should be already entrenched on who they are as a Republican or as a conservative. Their vote now shouldn't be a result of social media pressure or having Elon Musk or others on X put pressure on the American people to call their offices. And I'm sure they have. It should be entrenched on who they are. And that's the problem with the Republican Party. Is we have a party, in my opinion, that doesn't necessarily want to win most of the time. They'd much rather be in a defensive posture. They'd most rather say, well, we're still fighting the liberals. Well, we're just trying to defeat the radical left. I wish I could do more, but I can't. No, you can. You can vote for this and give the American people exactly what they want. This is the most fundamental issue in this country. If we don't have safe and secure elections, you can forget about it. All the other problems we have domestically and foreign, forget about it. If we can't have honest elections and actually make sure that citizens in our country are the ones that are dictating policy that affect you and I, then it's over. We don't have a country. So what will happen today, I do not know. But I will say this, if you're Republican, if you're a senator, or even if you're a Democrat senator, I mean, this should be a bipartisan issue here. I urge our viewers to contact their offices in D.C. and let them know this is a fundamental must do in order to secure our elections and secure this country. Got to do it. All right. It's a busy morning, a lot going on across America. Still to come. Aerial threats near El Paso and the administration taking no chances. What happened? And what was the signals? That's straight ahead. And then we're live in Tucson. Real America's Voice is on the ground as the search expands. All of that and much more on this Thursday edition of American Sunrise Early Edition. We'll be right back.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play. From powerhouse vocalist Natasha Owens, known for standout singles like Trump One and Somali Waltz, comes her brand new release, The Boss, released on Real America's Music. This is the direct response to Bruce Springsteen's recent release, The Streets of Minneapolis. While Springsteen once branded himself as a voice of the working class, The Boss gives a voice to everyday Americans and reminds listeners who truly shapes the future. The Real America's Voice audience has the power to move charts and shake the industry. Download it right now. Scan the QR code or search The Boss on iTunes. Push it up the charts. Make them notice.
Thank God you're not. I thank God you're
Welcome back, American Sunrise Early Edition. Thanks for joining us on this beautiful Thursday. It's one of my favorite days of the week because tomorrow's Friday, and then, of course, you're in the weekend. So Thursday's traditionally one of the better days of the week. All right, let's take a look at some of the headlines going on right now in Canada. Deadly school shooting in British Columbia. 10 people are dead, and authorities identifying an 18-year-old transgender Jesse Van Rootsler is a suspect. Now, the attack began at a private residence before moving to a high school. Now, police say the investigation is ongoing, but there's questions about the motive, and the warning signs still remain. And this morning, new questions about a cultural icon's death more than 3 decades after the death of Nirvana's frontman Kurt Cobain. A private team of forensic reviewers are raising doubts about the official ruling that it was a suicide. Now, Cobain died in 1994 from a shotgun wound at his Seattle home. The medical examiner ruled it a suicide, but the new review claims that certain autopsy findings may not align with instantaneous gunshot to the head. The team has published a paper outlining what they call, quote, unanswered questions. Officials have not reopened the case. Another legend gone too soon. That's a story I want to follow up on. All right, and along the southern border, the Trump administration escalating its war on the cartels. Counter-drone technology was deployed as a suspected aircraft was taken down. The airspace shut down to protect American lives. This is what real enforcement looks like. Joining us now, Ben Bergquam, our very own Ben Bergquam, big fan of this guy, Real America's Voice correspondent, joins us to talk about that and a whole lot more. Ben, when you saw this story, someone that has covered the border as much as you, what was your initial thoughts when you heard that we had some type of drone or some type of device enter American airspace from presumably Mexico?
Well, it's first off, it's not new. This has been going on for a long time. Cartels have been using drones for years now. They use them mostly for counter surveillance, but they also use them to actually bring drugs in to the United States clandestinely. They'll fly them in, they'll drop them off. They've been using drones in Mexico, and the cartel wars actually dropping IEDs on their rivals. And so it's been a concern for a very long time. Even when I was down there, when Joe Biden was allowing millions of illegals to come into our country, they were still using drones. And I asked them, actually, you could see the drones in the sky over El Paso. This is something my friend Anthony Aguero has been covering for years. And I asked him, why don't you take them down? And at that point, they told us they didn't have authority from the federal government. That was what was told to me by the guys on the ground, Border Patrol on the ground at the time under Joe Biden. So apparently the threat was greater. There was something more to it, enough to shut down the airspace. I'm trying to get more details on that, but the threat is not new. This is the war that America should have been focused on for the last 20 years. It's the war on our border. It's the war in our cities right now. All of the chaos you see attacking ICE, it's all the same enemies. The enemies that invited the invasion under Joe Biden are the enemies that are in the cities now, obstructing ICE from removing the illegals that they invited in to begin with. So this is the enemy. This is the war that we should be focused on.
When I heard this story, Ben, it reminded me of the Chinese air balloons that floated across this country and no one did anything about it. It wasn't shot down until it got off the coast of South Carolina, and they shot it down saying that it was in public safety. They wanted to do it over the water. I dare them to fly a Chinese spy balloon over our country right now. A very different situation, but that's what this reminded me of how the Biden administration allowed these drones, and the Biden administration allowed a Chinese spy balloon to go across our country.
Yeah, this was, and they allowed minimum 10 million illegals to invade our country. So not including the potentially 10 million unknown gotaways. This was the worst administration for national security in the history of America. And we're going to be paying the repercussions for that for decades to come. We're just at the tip of the iceberg when it comes to ICE doing the job to not just pick up illegals, get the children that were trafficked into this country, over 300,000. My guess is probably closer to 1 million when you count the gotaways, the unknowns, and the potential terrorists. On top of that, even simple things like this. Again, I was down there in El Paso, Sunland Park, New Mexico. We saw the drones, and we asked them, why can't you take those down? They would tell us, like, we couldn't fly our drones. No, I still did, but they would tell us they could take our drones down, but they weren't allowed to take down the Mexican drones, which makes absolutely no sense when those drones are being used to move drugs and people. So they would use the drones, the illegals they'd send across, the fake asylum seekers, they'd send a big group across, have the drone in the air, make sure all the Border Patrol resources would go to that area. Then they would send the guys that don't want to get caught a mile down the line. This has been going on for so long, but again, it's the difference between an administration that puts America first and an administration that put America last.
Yeah, well, I know on behalf of our viewers, Ben, thank you so much for what you do. You're such an asset to this country, an asset to this company. We really appreciate what you do, and go inside and get warm. Go inside and get some heat.
Thanks, Ryan. Great to be with you, brother.
All right, thank you. All right, when we come back, 130,000 jobs added. The Trump economic machine is revving up. What does it mean for rates, markets, and better yet, your wallet? Also, we're live in Tucson. Real America's Voice is on the ground as a search for Nancy Guthrie ramps up. All of that and much more on this Thursday edition of American Sunrise. Stick around.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play. From powerhouse vocalist Natasha Owens, known for standout singles like Trump One and Somali Waltz, comes her brand new release, The Boss, released on Real America's Music. This is the direct response to Bruce Springsteen's recent release, The Streets of Minneapolis. While Springsteen once branded himself as a voice of the working class, The Boss gives a voice to everyday Americans and reminds listeners who truly shapes the future. The Real America's Voice audience has the power to move charts and shake the industry. Download it right now. Scan the QR code or search The Boss on iTunes. Push it up the charts. Make them notice.
Thank God you're not. I thank God you're
Welcome back. Live shot of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Looking kind of gray out there. Which, by the way, this is one of my favorite bump-in musics here. I just love this little riff right there. Just a side note. All right, before we dive in, let's get a quick word from one of our sponsors, Artillery Tea Company. Now, this is the only America First tea, veteran-owned tea brand. And their mission is simple: maximize flavor with whole leaf tea blends and chemical-free tea bags. No junk, just real tea. But here's a tactical advantage: each bag brews twice. Just go to artillerytco.com. Use the promo code RAV for 10% off your first order. That's artillerytco.com. Premium tea, mission-driven. It's brewed for the brand. I'm just looking at it right now. Order it. It's good stuff. artillerytco.com. Don't forget to use that promo code. All right, let's turn now to the economy. The Labor Department confirming 130,000 new jobs were added in January. That's well above expectations. Now, unemployment's ticking down, and despite some revision noise, the overall trend is one of strength. This is as President Trump pushes tax, trade, and energy policies aimed at keeping America competitive. Seth Denson joins us now to talk about this and a whole lot more. Seth, is this the start of sustained growth, and is the average American feeling the impact quickly enough? I mean, we've talked about, at the end of the day, what does it look like to their wallet, but we're starting to see that this is happening rather quickly.
It is happening quickly, Brian. The challenge that the president and the administration has ahead of him, is it fast enough? And the answer will almost always be, for the American people, no. And largely because American people is being told by a lot of the mainstream media that it's not fast enough. And so they hear that information and wonder, well, they're a little Baruch assault, like, well, I want it now. My nice little Willy Wonka thought this morning.
Yeah.
But here's the reality. I'll give this quick analogy. You know, my son is 7 years old, and we started doing Legos when he was 4, and I would buy these Lego boxes come in, and he didn't understand that when we took all the packages out, that what was on the picture wasn't what came out of the box. It's like, no, son, we got to build it. And the most boring part of that is the foundation. Guess what? This president spent the last year building that foundation. We are seeing it play out. It is coming, and that big, beautiful thing is going to show up very quickly. It's working towards it. This jobs report, big piece of that.
Yeah, it is a big piece of that. And I'm learning that our government, as far as the employees and federal employees of the government, is some of the lowest levels that we've ever seen. And we're not only saving money, but we're also being a little bit more efficient. And you brought up a great point about the Biden administration and what they did.
Yeah, Brian. I've been watching these jobs reports very closely as they've come out under the Trump administration, because over the previous 4 years, a consistent theme was government jobs. Government jobs were atop of the list. Almost every jobs report, 1 in 4 jobs that was added under the Biden administration was a government job. Now, why is that important? Because as taxpayers, that means we're paying for that job. So, that causes inflation. That causes all of the problems that we have that are trying to be unwound. Government jobs, nowhere to be found in this jobs report as far as new jobs being added. That is a consistent theme since the Trump administration has come in, is that they are judiciously using taxpayer money when they are thinking about overall jobs and trying to be as efficient. Doge was once a thing, and it's still playing out.
Yeah, it is. Every time I get in an Uber, I like to ask them questions. How's business? Are you busy today? And I think you can find out a lot about the state of the economy from an Uber driver, as far as who's coming into town, who's working remotely, who's in town, things like that. This morning, the gentleman described that D.C., in his opinion, it's the slowest it's ever been for him, because he says normally, he had a lot of tourists coming in from around the world, not just Americans, but foreign tourists coming to see our nation's capital. He said that is way down. But more importantly, your government workers, there's just not a lot of people here, as we've talked about, that's a part of the bloated system of the government. Now, sadly, that does directly impact some of the service, like an Uber. There's less Ubers that need to be called for because there's less people moving around the city. But in a way, when you look at the amount of money this country is saving and how much more efficient it is, at the end of the day, it's a good thing. Haven't everyone always complained about how big our government is and how bloated our government is?
Wasn't it Reagan? There's no such thing as a temporary or more permanent than a temporary government program. Well, we saw that. We've seen that play out broadly. And what I would tell your Uber driver is money is mobile. And what do I mean by that? Well, it may be leaving D.C., which is a good thing for the country, but guess where it's showing up? Right here in Dallas, Texas. So tell that Uber driver, come on down, man. He will be very busy in Dallas, Texas. In these areas where we have more conservative-leaning politics that understand how to get pro-economic growth going. That is what we're seeing actually in a lot of these reports too, is where there is growth, it is very much geographically positioned in areas where it is pro-business and pro-growth.
Let's talk about that growth real quickly. We see a lot of reports that companies are moving out of California, going to states like Texas, and going to states in the South like Florida. Do you see that continuing going on the next 2 to 3 years?
I certainly do. And by the way, we're seeing foreign dollars come into the U.S. Why? Because that's where they're going to grow. I always say success has babies and so does money. So effectively, it wants to go where it's going to replicate. You're seeing that happen at a micro level here in the States. We're seeing trillions of dollars leaving the state of assets under management, leaving New York, coming to places like Texas for the new Y'all Street that has been opening up. And I believe we will continue to see that happen over the course of the next 12 to 24, even 48 months, as many of these states recognize the opportunity ahead of them, so long as they get government out of the way and allow private sector to thrive.
All right. Well, Seth, you're always a wealth of knowledge. We appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Good to see you, Brian.
Good to see you. All right, now we turn to the search for Nancy Guthrie. Investigation is expanding this morning. Hundreds of agents now assigned to the case, fanning out across neighborhoods near Tucson area of the home. FBI teams are searching in the desert, terrain, collecting items, knocking on doors. Now, a man detained near the border has now been released, leaving investigators tight-lipped about what comes next. Real America's Voice is live on the scene with this out in the field. Kevin Basovic joins us. Kevin, good morning. What does today feel like on the ground there in Tucson?
Good morning, Brian. Thanks for having me. So we're down here on the ground now. It's obviously not sunrise just yet. And right behind me, I was hoping we could get a better shot, but it's just so dark, is the actual Catalina foothills. So I am in the neighborhood, and you can kind of see some of it. But later on this morning and this afternoon and all day today, we'll be bringing you coverage of this investigation. It's relatively warm. It's a lot warmer than Minneapolis, where I just was last month. But we're going to be hitting all the spots here. We're going to be getting in touch with some resources, and obviously our latest updates are that a glove was recovered, and also the FBI has been back to Annie Guthrie's house to investigate further. They've collected mail. So we're thinking there's some kind of fingerprint examination happening. Maybe that's the connection there. And hopefully, we will get a press conference today as well. That was another concern of interest, in that there wasn't really an update after this latest man who was detained. As we could see in the video still shot there, the man was detained and then questioned and then released. So we're looking for a follow-up there, because we were told by the sheriff that he would, provide a press conference for everybody to give updates if it warranted that. And a lot of us believe that is the case. So moving forward, we would like to know what is definitely going on here. So.
Well, so I know you just got on the ground there, but can you give us a sense of what it feels like? I know there's a lot of media presence, obviously. This has become a world story, if you will. But what are you seeing as far as when you got to your area? satellite trucks set up, news crews set up, police perimeter? Are you talking to neighbors? Are you talking to people in the community? What are they telling you about this case?
So I have yet to get in touch with a few more people here. It is very tense down here on the scene. I got to say, it's tense. And there's a lot of other media around, major media outlets. Everybody's here, even some local people. So there hasn't been a whole lot of law enforcement just yet this morning. It's been pretty quiet. You know, this is also, I mean, this is south of Phoenix. It's still a city, but it's definitely much more desert feel, much more spread out as well. But yeah, once the sun comes up, I think we're going to start seeing a lot more action here.
All right, Kevin Basobe, thank you so much for your coverage down there in the Tucson area. We'll be checking in with you, I would imagine, throughout the day. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, up next, Trump, Netanyahu, and now, well, China. This isn't routine diplomacy. This is strategic signaling. Our Intel insider deciphers what all it means as American Sunrise rolls on in this early edition on this Thursday. Stick around.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and whistleblowers in the most controversial narrative of our time that may also be one of the largest cover-ups in modern public health history.
There was a cover-up.
Why would he trade the Chinese the most advanced biotechnology in the world?
He's a spy.
It's insane.
I don't think this is going to be foolproof. Things are going to slip through.
Fauci knew and lied repeatedly.
Rather than being a partisan hit piece, Thank You, Dr. Fauci is an honest look at the origins of COVID-19 and a potential bioarms race with China. It streams exclusively on Angel Studios app and site starting on October 23rd. And all you need to do is go to angel.com/Rav to stream it. So be ready to watch, question, and share as the quest for truth and accountability continues.
Welcome to American Sunrise Early Edition. The show where faith, freedom, and the values that built this nation take center stage.
All right, welcome back to American Sunrise, and now you know. I just love that little sound drop we put in there anyway of Marco Rubio. All right, lots to go over. Let's head over to the Denver newsroom for the latest headlines with Terrance Bates. Terrance, good morning, my friend.
Hey, Brian, good morning. As always, a lot to talk about. We want to start at the White House. Oh, why do you think I'm starting at the White House, Brian? Well, it's because you're the chief White House correspondent. So let's play in your backyard a little bit, if you don't mind. Check out this picture. That's pretty much the only evidence that you'll find of Wednesday's meeting between President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Guys, let's put up that picture if we can. The sit-down in the White House was an encore to Netanyahu's meeting with Secretary of State Marco Rubio and the U.S. delegation to Israel. Taking to Truth Social, 47 describing the meeting as good, but also noting that nothing definitive was reached other than that President Trump insisted that negotiations with Iran continue in hopes of reaching a deal. The commander-in-chief also writing, "We discussed the tremendous progress being made in Gaza and the region in general. There's truly peace in the Middle East," he writes. Brian, I want to get some perspective from you on this because you obviously were at the White House when this meeting was happening. It seems to me from what I'm reading that Benjamin Netanyahu was kind of snuck in the back way. He didn't have the traditional welcome to the White House, if you will. And then again, there also wasn't an opening to the media, no real public acknowledgement of that meeting. Is there anything that we should read into that? Maybe not, but it just seemed a little weird to me, I have to admit.
It was a little weird. Now, there was no color guard greeting. There was no roll up into the West Wing. We've got the classic President Trump standing outside the door with the handshake and the pat on the shoulder, and they all walk in the way. That didn't happen. He pulled around, and from what I later found out, it was a little bit further than what we originally thought. He almost went down to the south lawn entrance of the White House, far beyond any type of viewing from the public or from the press that would be up against the fence. So they did, for the most part, hide his entrance to the White House. Now, the only thing that we know about that meeting, Terrance, is that Truth Social post that you just kind of summarized there. And then later there was a coal event in the East Room with some coal miners talking about coal keeps the light on. Beautiful, clean coal. But there was no time for press there at all, so he didn't take any questions. So my biggest takeaway from this thing is this could have been a phone call. This literally could have been a phone call. I don't think he needed to come to D.C. to do that.
Fair enough. Now, he did meet with Marco Rubio, and I saw kind of the delegations from both sides, so there was that kind of face-to-face, and there was video of that. But one would think, and again, I don't want to read too much into anything, but part of our job as journalists is to critically look at situations. One would think that an ally like Israel being at the White House, all of the issues that were set to be addressed, specifically Iran, specifically Gaza, that this would have been a much more public meeting. And it just gives one pause. Yeah. No, you're right. We think it would have been a little bit more. I would love just to have them in the Oval Office, turn the cameras on, no questions from the media, and let's just listen to the discussion. I think that would be great. I mean, you don't even have to have the media ask a single question. We just want to know, as American people, what is being negotiated on our behalf with the country of Israel in regards to Iran. I think that's a simple question. That would be must-watch TV, in my opinion, Terrance. No, I would tend to agree with you on that one, Brian. So look, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about another story that has captivated the nation. A little bit more clarity this morning on the temporary closure of the airspace over El Paso, Texas on Wednesday. It turns out the closure wasn't just about Mexican cartel drones coming across the border. The FAA reportedly reacted to the use of a U.S. Customs and Border Protection anti-drone laser earlier in the week and made a knee-jerk decision to shut things down. Now, while the Pentagon is said to have allowed CBP to use that laser at a nearby Fort Bliss, which is a military installation, it was apparently a lapse in communication between the agencies and the FAA. As a result, federal aviation officials initially decided to restrict flights in and out of El Paso for 10 days, and then they ended up changing their mind and reopening the airport. Meantime, as you can imagine, El Paso's mayor, well, he's not very happy. Here, check this out.
I want to be very, very clear that this should have never happened. You cannot restrict airspace over a major city without coordinating with the city, the airport, the hospitals, the community leadership. That failure to communicate is unacceptable. These types of decisions have consequences. Medical evacuation flights were forced to divert to Las Cruces. All aviation operations were grounded, including emergency flights.
Hey, Brian, Texas Senator Ted Cruz says he plans to request a briefing from the FAA in order to understand where the communication breakdown happened. What do you think? Does the mayor have a point? I think he kind of does.
I think he does to a certain degree. I think he was being a little over dramatic on it. I think that mayor clearly might be a kind of an anti-Trump administration, but he has some very valid points, because to initially say we're going to shut it down for 10 days, the nearest airport, as he pointed out, is 270 miles away from a major airport, from El Paso. So it's no easy task. And if you have all those people that were at the airport, and all of a sudden you're told that, oh, so you know, go rent a car or you got to wait a while. I can understand the panic that it must have caused. He has a valid point, Terrance, but I do think they're kind of over being a little bit drama queens here about this. But it does bring up a bigger picture of communication as a whole between the agencies. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Interesting chain of events there in El Paso. Next time I go there, Brian, I'm taking the Greyhound. I'm not flying.
Yeah, well, my cousins used to live there. I used to go there all the time. It's a beautiful city, by the way. Sun City is what they call it. Thank you so much, Terrance. I appreciate it. We'll see you back on American Sunrise. All right, now let's bring in a geopolitical analyst, Brandon Weicker, to talk about, well, what went down yesterday. Brandon, you're our go-to intel and fast-moving developments. You're our specialist on all of this. Where are we at with Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu? They met, and on that second carrier, you told us about now is the way China is starting to move into strategic positions. Can you please decipher this for our viewers? What's going on with that? And then we'll recap kind of what went down yesterday at the White House.
Yeah, so the key thing here to watch, as always, are what are the military movements in the region. Obviously, the administration's not saying much after this meeting, but the military movement is the carrier's still there. We've still continued to move more air assets into the region, more aircraft with missiles and anti-aircraft air defense systems on board. And now the talk is that the USS George H.W. Bush, which is ported right now in Norfolk, Virginia, is going to be getting the order to deploy. So that'll take from the initiation of the order to probably the actual arrival into the Middle East on station. It should take about 2 to 3 weeks. It'll take 2 weeks to load up the carrier, and then about 6 days traveling time to get on station. If that order, and I'm waiting to hear if that order's been given. So far it hasn't, but Trump has been floating this. Which means to me, I think that the Trump administration with Israel is still planning to do something militarily against Iran. They just feel that right now they don't have what's known as overmatch because of those Chinese elements that are now helping the Iranians with targeting the USS Abraham Lincoln, our carrier on station. The Chinese have moved intelligence ships into the region, and they're shadowing the Abraham Lincoln's carrier group. This is all to help Iran's anti-ship ballistic missiles have a better chance of destroying the aircraft carrier if Trump does give the go-ahead order to bomb Iran.
You know, you might have heard my comment earlier in the previous segment saying, could this have just been a phone call between Netanyahu and Trump? I mean, and look, and I only say this because I know the resources they have to put in place for when he comes into town. They put up the January 6th style fencing around the area that's added security, the road closures, all of this for Netanyahu to come see him. Could this have been a phone call?
Well, it very well might have. It looks like there was more going on in the meeting than they want to let on, either because they don't want to let on that the talks are basically stalled, which I think that they're going to be, or it's because it was a very contentious meeting. There have been a few instances where Netanyahu and Trump have had blow-ups in the last year, and that's leaked to the press, and that's damaged Trump and Netanyahu's relationship, so they might be trying to avoid that. But my understanding is that Netanyahu was coming already for the AIPAC conference. He moved his travel time up, though, because he wanted to basically do a wellness check on Trump, because I think he's worried Trump might be getting cold feet, which Trump is because of the anti-ship ballistic missile threat to the carrier. He doesn't want to be the first president to lose a carrier since World War II.
Not at all. All right, we'll keep an eye on this, Brandon, as always. We appreciate your insight on all of this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, now a message from Old Glory Bank. I've got huge news. Old Glory Bank is expected to go public here in a few months. That's right. Old Glory Bank expects to be listed on the NASDAQ. Now, this means that everyday Americans who love this country will be able to own stock in a bank that actually stands for them, the freedom economy, the DeFi economy, traditional values. This is a win for all of us. Old Glory Bank offers everything you need, but more importantly, they're run by patriots who share your values, and that matters. So go to oldglorybank.com/RAV to learn more. The website, once again, oldglorybank.com/RAV. Good stuff there. All right, we're in the final stretch of American Sunrise Early Edition, and that continues after the break. Stick around.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and whistleblowers in the most controversial narrative of our time that may also be one of the largest cover-ups in modern public health history.
There was the cover-up.
Why would he trade the Chinese the most advanced biotechnology in the world?
He's a spy.
It's insane.
I don't think this is going to be foolproof. Things are going to slip through.
Fauci knew and lied repeatedly.
Rather than being a partisan hit piece, Thank You, Dr. Fauci is an honest look at the origins of COVID-19 and a potential bioarms race with China. It streams exclusively on Angel Studios app and site starting on October 23rd. And all you need to do is go to angel.com/RAV to stream it. So be ready to watch, question, and share as the quest for truth and accountability continues.
That is one beautiful woman out there. Look at her, standing strong. She's standing proud. We love her. You love her. And that's why we're here. Welcome back, American Sunrise Early Edition. I am Brian Glenn. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, another guy that we all love is David Brody. As we love him. What can I say?
Yeah, I'm not as sexy as the Statue of Liberty, but that's all right.
I'll give you that. Holman does have a press conference coming up, I believe, in the 9 o'clock hour. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, we will take it. We will take it here.
We're going to take it live.
We're going to do it live, Brian. That's right.
That was a great moment, by the way, in TV history.
Oh.
And I think some of our viewers may not understand what we're talking about, but those in our age group definitely know. Okay, the SAVE Act. Why isn't this a no-brainer? I mean, this is a 76% approval from Democrats. It's even higher on Republicans. Why can't we get the SAVE Act? Why can't voter ID? Come on, let's go. Easy.
Well, here's the truth. I mean, well, first of all, we know why Democrats don't want the SAVE Act, obviously, because they don't want to actually do things on the up and up for their nefarious purposes for open borders. But beyond all of that, let's talk about Republicans. Look, here's the thing. The truth of the matter is, if you want to nuke the filibuster, they can do it. They can do it. I mean, this idea that John Thune says they don't have the votes to nuke the filibuster, I'm not convinced of that. Look, what are there, 53 Republicans? So, you're telling me there's not 50 votes 50 of the 50. You can lose Murkowski. You can lose Collins. I guess you'll lose Tom Tillis, probably. Well, actually, now that I think about it, Rand Paul. You're probably going to lose Rand Paul. That's 49. So, yeah, probably not. As I kind of do the math, now that I think about it, they probably don't have 50 Republicans that'll nuke the filibuster, which is sad, Brian. I mean, that's the point. It's really sad that they can't get to 50, and that just shows you that we got a lot of rhino alerts going on in Congress. It's shameful.
Yeah. And then when it comes to voter ID, I rattle off a lot of nations that are predominantly black nations that require, voter ID: Ghana, Kenya, Jamaica, Haiti, Botswana, like all these countries. So the Democrats are saying it's going to make it harder for people to vote. And I'm like, well, you need an ID to basically do anything in this world. This would be the most common sense thing in the world to be able to show a photo ID to vote. It's it's so important to securing our elections.
Yeah. And Brian, here's the other thing. Let's be honest. It's totally racist of the Democrats to not go with the SAVE Act. You're telling me that basically what Democrats are saying is that black people, minorities in this country can't get an ID? That there's just no way for them to get an ID? Really? Listen, the last time I checked, I'm not black. But if I were black and I was told I can't get an ID, I would be absolutely offended that you're telling me that I can't get an ID. Give me a freaking break. Unbelievable.
Yeah, well, 76% of African Americans say they are for for showing a voter ID to vote. So they're not agreeing with the Democrat political machine. All right, well, we're going to see you on the big show coming up next. We appreciate it so much for joining us. David Brody, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, until tomorrow, same time, same network. You can follow me on social media as well, at Brian Glenn TV. I'll have some updates from the White House. I'm headed there right now. Until next time, goodbye. God bless. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
American Sunrise is a great way to start your morning. Join us Monday through Friday from 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We've got the news of the day and some compelling interviews that you don't want to miss. Here's what you missed from yesterday. The American Society of Plastic Surgeons, which is basically the largest organization of board-certified plastic surgeons, advising against irreversible gender transition surgeries, which includes breast, genital, or facial augmentation for anyone under 19 years old. The ASPS pointing out, quote, substantial uncertainty regarding the long-term irreversible effects of puberty blockers and other hormone therapies. By the way, that age recommendation of 19 years old, also a departure from the organization's previous stance, which was more in line with other major medical organizations.
The American Medical Association, which is a very political umbrella, one of the largest and deep into the pockets of Big Pharma, they are all in cahoots regarding genital mutilation because they make so much money from it. So for the plastic surgeons, the ones who benefit at point A, right, of these surgeries, to come out like this is a major, major win for our culture, David.
Truth of the matter is, the media, if it's not controversial, if it's not anti-Trump, and if it's not fitting their narrative, they have no desire to go down and do deep dives on what you just talked about there, Gina, and many other, a myriad of different issues.
Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna says 6 previously redacted names from the Jeffrey Epstein files are now public following the release of unredacted records. Khanna says the names were removed from earlier Justice Department releases without explanation. I think the thing that's frustrating for me as a consumer of narratives is that I don't think that any Democrat should be leading on this narrative. I think this is a Republican narrative. It bothers me that the Democrats are acting as if this was all their idea, and they're going to try to weaponize this for the midterms. There's no doubt about that.
Look, they were in charge for 4 years, and we never heard anything about these files, and all of a sudden now they're acting as if they own it, and they're pushing the DOJ to release. You're absolutely right. Republicans were the ones who actually forced this out in the open.
Here's an Axios headline which reads, unusual FAA restriction closes El Paso airspace for 10 days. Our lawmakers say that no one got a notice here.
Well, and this is fairly unprecedented. They're also looking at not allowing medical air as well, which is unprecedented. Last time we've seen anything like this was around 9/11. More information, I'm sure, will be coming out that they're taking the steps that they need to be able to protect security, which is why this has been put in place. As I understand, this is a security measure. This is not having to do with with weather or any other related activities. You said it just came out, and I look forward for more information coming out from the FAA about what this is all about.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and whistleblowers in the most controversial narrative of our time that may also be one of the largest cover-ups in modern public health history.
There was the cover-up.
Why would we trade the Chinese the most advanced biotechnology in the world?
He's a spy.
It's insane.
I don't think this is going to be foolproof. Things are going to slip through.
Fauci knew and lied repeatedly.
Rather than being a partisan hit piece, Thank You, Dr. Fauci is an honest look at the origins of COVID-19 and a potential bioarms race with China. It streams exclusively on Angel Studios app and site starting on October 23rd. And all you need to do is go to angel.com/Rav to stream it. So be ready to watch, question, and share as the quest for truth and accountability continues.
On American Sunrise, Attorney General Pam Bondi faced tough questions over the Epstein files. House lawmakers demanded answers about what was known and who knew it. How did she respond? We have some of her comments for you this morning. Plus, DHS funding is front and center on Capitol Hill with ICE at the heart of the debate. Lawmakers debating how to get this done. Will there be a deal? Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn will weigh in. Also later, in a unique Super Bowl spin, dozens of Seattle Seahawks turned to scripture in the locker room, gathering for the weekly Bible studies led by team chaplains. What's behind this spiritual practice? We have those stories, so much more, as American Sunrise starts right now.
Good morning, America.
Welcome to American Sunrise.
Whether it's culture,
we have breaking news to share with you.
Politics.
President Trump is joining us live now from Florida.
We've got you covered.
This is what it looks like to be a patriot.
We have to protect the American family.
The American dream is still alive.
I'm David Brody.
I'm Terrance.
And I'm Dr. Gina.
Good morning. I'm Dr. G. We are live with you from the Palm Beaches. Let's bring in David Brody. He's in Washington, D.C. Terrance Bates is in our Denver newsroom. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Hola. I speak Spanish. Good morning.
Oh, boy.
Good morning.
Hello. This could derail quickly, Terrance. Get to headlines.
Yes, okay.
Thanks a lot.
All right, Dr. Gina, thank you. So look, guys, there is new evidence. Check out this Fox headline, which reads, transgender ex-student identified as alleged suspect in Canada's school mass shooting that left at least 9 dead. Investigators say the 18-year-old shooter killed his mother and stepbrother before then going to the school where he dropped out and continuing his rampage. Again, at least 9 people dead. This is said to be one of the deadliest mass shootings in Canadian history. That transgenderism is a mental illness, and I think this is another example thereof.
I wasn't sure to whom you're directing the question, Terrance.
Dr. Gina, I'm sorry, Dr. Gina.
But there is no question about that. It's an amorphic disorder, a lot like cutting that we see people do. We call that what it is. We call that a mental illness. So why don't we want to help these kids? That's really the question it comes down to. Why don't we want to help these kids? We know, in fact, they found out back in the 1970s, and by the way, it was liberal researchers, I believe it was through the Guttmacher Institute, which is funded by Planned Parenthood, that found out that folks who went ahead with the transition and changed their gender, kids especially, the suicide rate was dozens of times higher for those kids. Why don't we want to help them? Why don't we want to help them? The reason is money. That's why it is such a big deal that I love so much that the American Association of Plastic Surgeons did come out and say, hey, this is bad. It went against their own pocketbooks, David. You'll almost never see a professional organization do something that extreme. But they did it because this is a situation that called for it.
Well, you've got that angle covered for sure, and it's a huge one. And then, of course, the Bible. Look, if you go against God's order, you're either born male or female. If you start to go against God's order, no matter how you feel and your truth and how maybe a boy of 4 years old wants to play with a Barbie, that doesn't mean you have to cut off your you-know-whats. Yeah. It's ridiculous. And so the point is, when you start to go against how God created you, that is going to create problems. That's the truth. Look, there are less than 1% of folks that are transgender. I know we hear more than 1%, but the truth of the matter is it's very, very low. And yet we see transgender shooting after transgender shooting after transgender shooting. There is a major schism between the statistic that I just cited and what's actually happening in reality. And it's a problem, and it really needs to change.
Yeah, and just to punctuate, some of the other disorders in the DSM-3. We're now at the DSM-5. These evolutions take place every few years by a very small group of people who have a very large investment in the pharmaceuticals that are prescribed in the Diagnostics and Statistics Manual. But in the third edition, this was in a class with things like anorexia, bulimia, cutting, and it was something that needed help. And instead of that, because they saw the money behind not just the surgeries, but the lifetime of medical needs and chemicals and all the rest of it for these people that underwent this. And so the suicides notwithstanding, it was more lucrative to continue to promote these horrible surgeries that forever maim children. And so I'm really, really glad that some of this is being exposed. It needs to continue. I think
Would you give us our Bible verse,
yes,
Dr. G?
Yes. All right, there we go. Matthew 1, verse 23. Behold, the virgin shall be with child and bear a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which is translated, God is with us, and he is every single day. Attorney General Pam Bondi was on Capitol Hill yesterday, defended the handling of the Epstein files. Take a look.
All they want to do, all the American people need to know this. They are talking about Epstein today. This has been around since the Obama administration. This administration released over 3 million pages of documents, over 3 million. And Donald Trump signed that law to release all of those documents. He is the most transparent president in the nation's history. And none of them ask Merrick Garland over the last 4 years one word about Jeffrey Epstein. How ironic is that? You know why? Because Donald Trump, the Dow right now is over. The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin.
All right, let's bring in Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn. Senator, arrests. People want arrests. They want arrests. We all the talk and everything happening on Capitol Hill. We're ready for some people to be punished over this. And listen, it doesn't take a lawyer or a prosecutor with a degree to look at those Epstein files and see that, wow, these investigations, are they even happening? I mean, what do you know? What can you tell us that we might not know regarding future arrests?
Yes, and let me say this. I give AG Bondi credit for getting those files released. I had been asking for years for the release of the Epstein files, not because of celebrity, but to know who was in Jeffrey Epstein's network and how they built out this global sex trafficking network. So what you want to see, what we hear from people every day, Dr. Gina, is, look, during the Biden years, whether it was Epstein, and I do think you will see some arrest that will come from the release of these files, or whether it was Arctic Frost, we want to see these bad actors put into court, which is a DOJ responsibility. Congress can't do that. We can hold hearings, we can investigate, but they want them to be taken to trial. We saw the Watergate trials, and of course, Arctic Frost is much worse, much deeper and wider than Watergate ever was. And people want these bad actors like Jack Smith to pay the price for what they have done to the president, members of Congress, and to conservatives across the country.
No doubt about it. And we're going to get to more on Arctic Frost in a moment, because you were right in the front and center of all of that, leading the way. Senator, let me ask you about this DHS funding. Friday the 13th, appropriately tomorrow, in terms of the DHS funding possibly going away and shutting down. What is the latest from Capitol Hill? My understanding is that this is not looking good. And of course, without DHS funding, yeah, you'll get ICE and Custom Border Protection funding still going on, but TSA and FEMA, what happens there?
It would shut them down. And of course, states like my state of Tennessee, we have FEMA on the ground because we suffered a terrible ice storm and thousands of people lost powers. I mean, like hundreds of thousands. And we're still cleaning up from that. And you're right. ICE is funded through 2029. We've already done that. We did that in the Working Families Tax Cut Big Beautiful Bill. And what they would do is cut the funding for TSA, for the Coast Guard, for FEMA. And FEMA's budget comprises 35% of DHS funding. So what the Democrats think they're going to get from this, I don't know. It's ludicrous, like the Schumer shutdown was. That was, let's give health care to illegal aliens. And then they realized, oh my goodness, you've got about 75% of the American people that disagree with us. So then they started trying to find a way to end the Schumer shutdown. This is another of those misplaced tactics. They're on the wrong side of this issue. You know, you can look at polling. Overwhelmingly, the American people, by a vast majority, support removing criminal, illegal aliens from their communities, their cities, their states, from the country.
Senator Blackburn, we talked about Arctic Frost, and so we do want to get to that specific issue. You, of course, chaired a hearing on that. You also had some interesting things to say about former special counsel Jack Smith. In case you don't remember what you said, I want to remind you, here's some of what your comments.
We are ultimately here this morning because Jack Smith violated his oath of office. He trampled on Americans' rights that are enshrined in the Constitution, all for one reason: to go after President Donald Trump and conservatives across this great nation. With the Biden DOJ's approval, Jack Smith issued 197 subpoenas to over 430 conservative organizations and individuals. That was the length that he went to go after President Trump.
All right, Senator Blackburn, I'm going to parrot Dr. Gina and say the American people want arrests, or at very least consequences. I think it's all going to ultimately come down to that again. Will there be arrests? Will there be consequences? Will Jack Smith have to face something, some sort of consequence for his actions?
You know, Terrance, this was the first of the hearings we at Senate Judiciary will do on Arctic frost and getting to the bottom of what happened there. As we do our investigation, we turn over all of our records to the DOJ. And then they're the ones that move forward with indictments and then prosecutions. And indeed, these are individuals that should be prosecuted. What we did in the hearing this week was pull together the general counsels from each of the wireless networks, because they're the ones that answered, that got the subpoenas, and the subpoenas had a non-disclosure order on it. So even though DOJ said there's a risk of litigation here because you're abridging the speech and debate clause, they did it anyway. So are they liable? Yes. Should they face a prosecution? Jack Smith, Arctic Frost, his team, those that complied with these subpoenas, of course they should. And we are hopeful that as we do our hearings and oversight, which is our part that we can do, that you will see DOJ get indictments against these individuals. When it comes to Jack Smith, there are questions if he was appropriately appointed because he was not confirmed by the Senate. There's also the speech and debate clause, which they removed the ability of members to have speech and debate. They abridged the Stored Communications Act. And then, of course, the right to privacy for all of the 430 individuals and organizations that they went after.
Yeah. Wow. Well, Senator Marsha Blackburn, we always appreciate your insightful updates here on the show. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks.
All right, coming up, search for Nancy Guthrie continues. What are some of the next steps authorities are taking? We have updates for you. Also later, Hamas keeping weapons. A new report says the terror group could keep some small arms in a new draft plan. What is Israel thinking on that? We have expert analysis coming up on American Sunrise.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and whistleblowers in the most controversial narrative of our time that may also be one of the largest cover-ups in modern public health history.
There was a cover-up.
Why would he trade the Chinese the most advanced biotechnology in the world?
He's a spy.
It's insane.
I don't think this is going to be foolproof. Things are going to slip through.
Fauci knew and lied repeatedly.
Rather than being a partisan hit piece, Thank You, Dr. Fauci is an honest look at the origins of COVID-19 and a potential bioarms race with China. It streams exclusively on Angel Studios app and site starting on October 23rd. And all you need to do is go to angel.com/Rav to stream it. So be ready to watch, question, and share as the quest for truth and accountability continues.
This news break is brought to you by AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens.
Kansas City, everybody, on a
What day is this? Thursday. Welcome back, everybody, to American Sunrise. A busy day. Well, we say that every single day. Let's get to T. Bates. He's got the headline, sponsored by AMAC.
The Association of Mature American Citizens is the conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. AMAC is fighting for the values that you hold dear. Join today. Together, we can write the course of America.
Authorities in Arizona say more detainments are likely as they continue their search for missing 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie. She, of course, is the mother of NBC's Savannah Guthrie. Investigators are working through thousands of tips and phone calls. One man was stopped, detained, and questioned earlier this week in the Tucson area, but later released as the investigation continues. Law enforcement is still following up on leads and urging the public to provide information that hopefully leads to Guthrie's safe return. Let's bring in RAV correspondent Kevin Posobiec. He is in Tucson right now with the very latest. Kevin, good morning.
Good morning, T. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, as you can see behind me, that is not the sun, but the moon. We're awaiting sunrise here, and I got to say it's quite eerie here today. It's tense. I'm usually in the Phoenix area, so this is slightly less urban. And as everybody knows, the Nancy Guthrie case is still ongoing. This is the 12th day here. And, so what we want to do next is hopefully get a press conference today, as was basically promised to us from the sheriff. We didn't even get an official update, really, from the man who was detained and then released. So as you say, yeah, we're looking forward to more potential
hopefully
people
we'll get
being
some more
detained.
today.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, Kevin, just really quickly, there's not been a lot of evidence that's come out. The big piece of evidence was that video footage that was released Monday or Tuesday. But since then, it seemed to be kind of just silence. Have you heard of any new evidence, anything new that's advancing this case?
Well, there has been reports per Savannah Guthrie's latest post for a plea for tips to be called in, and somewhere in the thousands have been reported so far. I think they're being filtered through now, so we haven't gotten access to that quite yet. But other than that, we've just seen a glove acquired, to be taken in for possible fingerprints, and then I think that's pretty sure why the FBI went to the daughter's house to collect the mail, too, to see if there's any kind of fingerprint matches going on there. But other than that, we've seen federal agents basically combing through the foothills here on the roadways. That's the latest. They're combing through bushes and, looking for other potential items, a backpack, any clothing items to see if they can follow this trail more.
Hopefully they find something rather quickly. Hopefully that news conference happens today, and we'll be checking in with you throughout the day. Always good to see you, my brother. Good to see you.
Thanks. You too, T. We'll talk soon.
Thank you so much. We'll talk soon. All right, folks, let's switch gears a little bit, get a quick check of your forecast. Weather Nation's Tracy Anthony joining us. By the way, I want to encourage you to go to our various social media platforms, be it Getter, Rumble, YouTube. Let us know where you're hanging out, and who knows, you might get one of Tracy's hometown forecasts. Hey, TT, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, we do those hometown forecasts next hour, but want to talk about some of the big stories across the country. Still a little snow for the Northeast. The lake effect snow going to stick around, but very isolated in nature. But we do have another system that's set to impact us from the southwest all the way to the East Coast over the weekend. So Friday, Saturday, we do have the chance for some strong and severe thunderstorms and some flooding potential. And also California going to be inundated with rain this weekend. So we have several systems out in the Pacific that's really starting to ramp up our weather as most of the country feels temperatures starting to warm right back up. A look at your daytime highs. Bismarck, North Dakota, 49 degrees, and even DC getting close to 40 degrees. So we're finally digging out of that Arctic blast that has continued to impact the Northeast. But want to talk about this system here real quick as it's going to move across the southern plains and the Southeast. we are going to have a ton of Gulf moisture that's going to spark the chance for some severe storms Friday and then into Saturday. We could also have some localized flash flooding potential with this system as well. So widespread 2 to 3 inches of rain across the south, and notice there could even be a few snowflakes rung out for areas like DC, but I'm thinking this system is going to stay warm enough where we don't have any snow, and if you have a snowflake or two, it's going to melt very quickly, Terrance, so that's some good news. One last thing, the Daytona 500 is this weekend, and with this system, we might be dealing with some rain, so could cause some issues out there on the track, Terrance.
All right. Thanks so much, Tracy. We'll check in with you next hour. Up next, though, President Trump met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House. You'll have to stick around to hear what the commander-in-chief had to say about that discussion.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and whistleblowers in the most controversial narrative of our time that may also be one of the largest cover-ups in modern public health history.
There was a cover-up.
Why would he trade the Chinese the most advanced biotechnology in the world?
He's a spy.
It's insane.
I don't think this is going to be foolproof. Things are going to slip through.
Fauci knew and lied repeatedly.
Rather than being a partisan hit piece, Thank You, Dr. Fauci is an honest look at the origins of COVID-19 and a potential bioarms race with China. It streams exclusively on Angel Studios app and site starting on October 23rd. And all you need to do is go to angel.com/Rav to stream it. So be ready to watch, question, and share as the quest for truth and accountability continues.
Mr. Chicago has requested a shot. T. Bates asking for a Chicago shot, and whatever T. Bates wants, we get him stat here on the show. No, he didn't really request that shot. I was just making all that up. I feel like we're on CNN. I just make everything up. Welcome back, everybody, to American Sunrise. All right, President Trump met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House Wednesday to discuss tensions. That's an interesting way of putting it. Tensions with Iran. He left, though, without any final agreement on strategy. Trump posted this on Truth Social, basically that diplomacy with Iran should continue, emphasizing a preference for a nuclear deal while not ruling out other options if talks fail. Netanyahu reaffirmed Israel's security concerns, and both leaders committed to maintaining close coordination. All right, well, let's bring in former advisor to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and senior contributing editor for JewishNewsSyndicate.org. That would be Ruthie Bloom. Ruthie, great to have you. So I guess, this could have been done in a phone call. So I'm trying to understand what your read here on what happened. What was Netanyahu hoping for here? Did he get it? It doesn't appear that way. And I'm sorry, but this is a whole lot more than the Iran nuclear deal. It's got to be about potential regime change and stuff going on there behind the scenes.
That's right. So first of all, Netanyahu, what's interesting about this, you're right, it could have been done in a phone call, particularly since Netanyahu is scheduled anyway to arrive in the United States next week for the AIPAC conference. And the fact that he said, okay, got to rush over there now, means that he had something very urgent to discuss with President Trump. Now, what is very telling is that they had no press conference and made no statements afterwards. It's true that President Trump posted on Truth Social, you know, we're going to continue with negotiations, etc. But my guess, so, you know, of course, this is just my interpretation. The fact that there was no press conference and no public statements means that much more was going on than we think. That's number one. And number two, it's clear that Netanyahu needed to guarantee that if President Trump does sign some kind of deal with the Islamic Republic, which I hope he doesn't because they won't keep any deal. No deal is worth the paper it's written on or the ink with that regime. That Netanyahu wanted to make sure that any deal would include ballistic missiles, not just nuclear weapons, and also funding terrorism. But most importantly, that if the United States signs any such deal with the devil, that it doesn't tie Israel's hands. In other words, it's possible that the regime would say, okay, our condition for signing a deal with you is that you prevent Israel from going it alone and attacking us.
Ruthie, Iran says it doesn't want broader talks with the United States, insisting it will only discuss its nuclear program, not missiles or regional issues. These comments come as President Trump met with Israeli Prime Minister, as we talked about, Netanyahu in Washington to discuss Iran and push for tougher deals, but tougher terms, rather, in the deal. But Trump says Iran wants an agreement, but stresses it must prevent Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons. So what will this ultimately mean for Israel?
Okay, so first of all, of course Iran wants an agreement. Iran is the weaker party here. Iran is on its knees. It's totally weakened. It had a severe drought. Its people have taken to the streets. That's why it massacred, the regime massacred tens of thousands of people, maybe more. We're not quite sure. It's in a very terrible position. And any deal would probably involve an easing of sanctions, and that would give more money to the Iranian coffers. I think President Trump, who's the quintessential deal maker, would understand that when a party is in its weakest state, that's not the time where you say where you capitulate. So maybe he's just doing this to get his ducks in a row militarily, to also make sure that the wing of the Republican Party and MAGA, the part of the MAGA movement that opposes any kind of military action, and particularly those members of MAGA who blame Israel for everything and say that anything that America does, it's all for Israel, he is going to say, look, I did my best. I did my best with diplomacy. I tried my hardest, and they wouldn't budge. That may be what he's doing. We can't get into President Trump's head. You know, nobody can, even the people who adore him, people who hate him. Very hard to know what's going on up there.
Ruthie, since you're in Tel Aviv, you have a perfect perspective on the grassroots thinking about the current ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. And I ask you this question in light of the New York Times headline, which reads, Hamas would keep some arms initially in the draft Gaza plan, officials say. How does the rank and file, how do normal Israelis see what's happening right now in Gaza? And this whole idea that Hamas could keep small arms, I would imagine that's probably generally a non-starter, but you tell me.
Okay, so first of all, do not trust anything that the New York Times writes. Let's start with that.
Fair enough.
But after having said that, let's suppose the report is true. Well, I can tell you that most Israelis, though there is no such thing as Israelis, that's like me saying to you, what do Americans think about X, Y, or Z? Okay, but most Israelis understand that an armed Hamas, even with what you call small weapons, you know, after October 7th, here's the thing. On October 7th, that massacre was committed by guys breaking through a fence in pickup trucks, motorcycles, and with guns, not, you know, rifles and small and handguns. That wasn't heavy. Those weren't heavy weapons. It's true that there were missiles and there were sirens and all that, but the massacre was much more one-on-one, and the kidnappings. So actually, they can't have weapons. But We also know that it's unrealistic to expect to be able to collect all the weapons. Now, the good news is that Israel does control more than 50% of Gaza right now.
Yeah. Ruthie, we really appreciate your time. We could pick your brain all day. We'll have you back. We appreciate you as always. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Love coming on.
All right. Coming up, could your morning coffee help protect your brain? Hello, I'm listening. A new study says a few cups of caffeinated coffee or tea each day may lower your risk of dementia. We're going to have those developments when we come back.
The radical left knows exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history. For thousands of Americans, it was the moment their voices were taken.
It's insurrection.
They were persecuted, hunted.
Seditious conspiracy.
But behind prison walls, something unexpected happened. They found their voice again.
Started singing the national anthem.
We took it up to him in Mar-a-Lago. He goes, I'll put my voice on it.
Our supporters made this go platinum.
Real America's Voice is telling the real story of January 6th like you've never seen it before.
Everybody, this must be peaceful.
This is not the story you were shown.
I take responsibility.
This is the story they live.
Government entrapment scheme that this actually was.
The J6 Patriots are no longer staying silent. They are speaking, they are standing, and they are telling the truth.
You can't kill us. You can't beat us.
Scan the QR code or visit RealAmericasVoice.com. Real America's Voice presents The Sleeping Giant. Available now.
Welcome back to American Sunrise. I'm Dr. Gina. Thank you for joining us. It is time now for today's health news, sponsored by the Wellness Company. And under the microscope today, the benefits of caffeine. A new study finds that drinking a few cups of coffee that is caffeinated or tea every day may help preserve brain power and lower your risk of dementia. Researchers reported this on Monday. According to this study, people with the highest daily intake of caffeinated coffee had about an 18%, that's substantial, lower risk of developing dementia compared to those with lower intake, and similar benefits were seen with caffeinated tea. These findings were most pronounced in participants who consumed 2 to 3 cups of coffee or 1 to 2 cups of tea daily, but there was no protective effect seen with decaffeinated beverages. So it's the caffeine. Researchers said that the study does not prove cause and effect, and that other lifestyle factors like diet and exercise and sleep also play key roles in protecting the cognitive health as people age. I've got the caffeine down. I put on the nicotine patches. I'm doing all the things, but the sleep I'm not good at. I don't know about you. February is National Cancer Prevention Month. Now more than ever, we want to be asking what each of us can do to lower our chances of cancer. And if you or a loved one is battling cancer, we want to make sure that no stone is left unturned in the effort to stay healthy. That's where the Wellness Company comes in. You know them. We have their great doctors on every day, like Kelly Victory and Dr. Peter McCullough. The Wellness Company and their doctors are medical professionals that you can trust. The Wellness Company is committed to providing safe, low-cost alternatives to big pharma, from ivermectin to methylene blue, and their fantastic new product, Shield. So much more. The Wellness Company gives you the opportunity to make the promise of the MAHA movement a reality for you. this February, let's take control of our health. Go to twc.health/RAV. That's twc.health/RAV. Use the promo code RAV. That'll save you 10%. Prepare now and don't wait. Send it over to David.
Thank you, Gina. All right.
Do you have your do you drink your caffeine and do you have your nicotine patches on?
Okay, so I don't have the nicotine patch, no, but I do have the caffeine daily, the coffee. All right. Let's talk about this whole wild FAA story for a second. That was all from yesterday.
Weirdness.
Yeah, so we've now learned, all right, so the Pentagon approved the use of this anti-drone laser system near El Paso, Texas, as officials responded to possible drone activity along the border. The FAA temporarily restricted airspace over El Paso International Airport for security reasons, and they lifted the order hours later. Officials say, I guess the move was precautionary, and flights have since returned to normal. So it appears as if Customs and Border Protection launched this laser system in an attempt to bring down something in the sky. Possibly now we're hearing like this Mylar party balloon. Gina, Terrance, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. It doesn't take much to confuse me, but I'm confused. I mean,
I'm not confused.
I still don't know what's going on.
I think the whole thing is very sus. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
They said they were going to close the airport for 10 days. You wouldn't close the airport for 10 days to do a little drone detection. Certainly not for a Mylar balloon. And then they suddenly reopen it. They closed down another airport a little bit later during our show yesterday. They closed down another airport. Something's going on. I'm not buying the drone story. I'm certainly not buying the Mylar balloon story. I don't know about you, T, but you can add here, and it doesn't add up.
I think there are major questions to be asked. First of all, was it really a drone? What was really going on? That's a glaring question. Secondly, why the knee-jerk reaction from the FAA to quickly make such a big move? The mayor of El Paso was critical in it, and I think he's got a point in that closing the airspace means that you also can't get emergency vehicles in there, like emergency helicopters, medevacs. Those are also shut down. In order to limit that sort of airspace, there are some major questions to be asked, particularly to do it in a knee-jerk reaction. And then there's the issue of communication. How is it that the Pentagon and CBP are trying something or using this laser and they're not communicating with FAA? There's a lapse of communication, particularly given recent history. Let's not forget that accident at Reagan Airport. I don't know if it's still called Reagan, but the airport over there in Northern Virginia where the helicopter went down in there. It was going from the military helicopter, hit an aviation plane, basically. You may remember that last year, 2 years ago. Again, that was a breakdown of communication there as well. It just doesn't make sense that given recent history, there would be any space for a breakdown in communication. I got questions. I got lots of questions.
And one more. Why 10 days? Where did that come from?
Yeah, that's the part that just it seems to expose that there's a little more going on here than meets the eye.
All right. I've got nothing else.
Somebody ain't telling the truth.
Yeah.
Somebody's not telling the truth. Somebody's, yeah, exactly. I
can't handle the truth.
You need me on that wall. You need me on that wall. Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. We went into movie trivia, too.
All right, we're done. Are we done?
I'm just going to move on. You guys, guess what? Coming up, a shakedown on President Trump's Religious Liberty Commission. You may have been reading about it on social media. Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick removed Carrie Prejean-Bowler, saying no member can hijack a hearing for personal or political agendas. Wow, this was a fiery conversation. We're talking about it. Not a lot of other media talking about it, but we will. Details just ahead.
From powerhouse vocalist Natasha Owens, known for standout singles like Trump One and Somali Waltz, comes her brand new release, The Boss, released on Real America's Music. This is the direct response to Bruce Springsteen's recent release, The Streets of Minneapolis. While Springsteen once branded himself as a voice of the working class, The Boss gives a voice to everyday Americans and reminds listeners who truly shapes the future. The Real America's Voice audience has the power to move charts and shake the industry. Download it right now. Scan the QR code or search The Boss Boss on iTunes. Push it up the charts. Make them notice.
The radical left knows exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history. For thousands of Americans, it was the moment their voices were taken.
It's insurrection.
They were persecuted, hunted,
seditious conspiracy.
But behind prison walls, something unexpected happened. They found their voice again.
Started singing the national anthem.
We took it up to him at Mar-a-Lago. He goes, I'll put my voice on it.
Our supporters made this go platinum.
Real America's Voice is telling the real story of January 6th like you've never seen it before.
Everybody, this must be peaceful.
This is not the story you were shown.
I take responsibility.
This is the story they live.
Government entrapment scheme that this actually was.
The J6 Patriots are no longer staying silent. They are speaking, they are standing, and they are telling the truth.
You can't kill us. You can't beat us.
Scan the QR code or visit RealAmericasVoice.com. Real America's Voice presents The Sleeping Giant. Available now.
Welcome back to American Sunrise. It's time to stay awake, not woke. And today we are discussing President Trump's Religious Liberty Commission. Chairman and Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick announced Carrie Prejean Bowler has been removed from the group. Patrick said no member has the right to hijack a hearing for a personal or political agenda. Prejean Bowler had pressed witnesses during a hearing on anti-Semitism, asking questions about Zionism and how anti-Semitism is defined. Patrick said the decision to remove her was his. Let's bring in Terrance, Dr. Gina, and David. Gina, what do you make of this?
Well, wow, you went to me first, did you? This is a tough one because these people are all friends. Carrie Prejean is a very personal, close friend of mine. Ever since she took a hard stand in the Miss USA pageant when the questioners asked her to be vindictive, what is your definition of marriage? And she said, I think marriage is between one man and one woman. And she stood her ground, and she did so, and became a bit of a hero of many of us in America who do believe in the sanctity of marriage. And so, Carrie has a different opinion from some of those on the panel yesterday, and they didn't like the way she made that sort of the center of conversation. So I suppose they have a right to do what they want to do too. It's one of these issues. We had a long conversation about this yesterday between us, and it's one of these situations that's evolving, and I'm learning a lot as I listen. I do think some of the name calling needs to be put to the side. I think the pointing fingers. I guess the part that pains me is that every single election cycle, while the Democrats circle wagons, the Republicans circle fire. How many election cycles have I said this through, David Brody?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely that. Look, I mean, here's where I think she went wrong. Well, she wore a Palestinian pin, which I think
wow,
kind of
I did not know that.
Yeah, she wore that. So that kind of set the tone. But beyond, let's put that to the side for a second. It ended up not being a conversation. Conversation's okay, right? But it was really an inquisition. I mean, she was going after these members and putting them on the spot. And this is a Religious Liberty Commission. I mean, you're all supposed to be kind of on the same page, kind of moving forward as to solutions. And I think that was where the tone was where she went wrong. And so it's unfortunate. Also, she said this, and this is the line, Catholics, this is quote, Catholics do not embrace Zionism. Well, so you're telling me that Catholics don't believe that Jews have a right to have a statehood in their homeland, in their ancient homeland? I mean, I don't know, Emily, maybe I don't know if you want to weigh in on this, but I mean, that's a pretty broad statement to say that Catholics don't embrace Zionism. I understand Zionism is a kind of a code word now, and everybody's like, oh, Zionism. But Zionism is simply that Jews have a right to have a state in their ancient homeland. You're saying that Catholics don't believe that? I mean, I don't know. That seemed a bit over the top to me, T. Bates.
Hey, David, I want to yield to you again because this is really your wheelhouse. And I think those terms are critical. Anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism, the two have been conflated. Are they the same? If one is anti-Zionist, is one then, by extension, also anti-Semite and anti-Semite?
Well, that's the big discussion.
That's the question.
That's the question.
Yeah.
I've got my opinion on it, but if you are, look, I see Zionism. Well, first of all, I see Zionism as a biblical Zionism as well, which is much more controversial, and that's a topic for another day. But in terms of just Zionism, like I said, the fact that Jews should have a state in the ancient homeland. If you're against that, then that is anti-Semitic, and here's why. Because if you're going to say the Palestinians have a right to a homeland and the Kurds have a right to a homeland, but the Jews don't have a right to a homeland, that's anti-Semitic.
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
That's the way I see it. No,
I think, I went all the way through Catholic schools, all the way through Catholic universities. I've never been Catholic, but I know a lot. I know enough to be dangerous. And I think what she's referencing is a statement by the Vatican that was made a long time ago. Well, the Vatican makes a lot of statements. If you really want to listen to what the Vatican says, if you're Catholic, a lot of Catholics just don't. I mean, they have a very leftist pope. Now, the one before this was a leftist, going back, John Paul, of course, was a beloved conservative. But, and so I think, I don't know that that's a fair measure to say that all Catholics believe X because it was a statement once by the Vatican. I don't think that's fair to the rank and file Catholics out there. Emily, you can weigh in on this because you actually are professing Catholic. But the other thing about this is, here's where I understand not wanting to be called a name because you question giving money to foreign nations, continuing to give billions of dollars to any foreign nation. I understand not wanting to be called a name for that. I don't understand siding with terrorists. I don't understand. I didn't know that she wore the Palestinian pin. I have talked to Carrie about this personally, and I won't relay personal conversations with anyone ever. But I will say that this is where I don't understand where she's going with this. So it's a sort of a painful time in the MAGA movement because Carrie has been, to up until this point, very loyal MAGA.
Yeah, she certainly has. And I know that Carrie will continue to stand by what she believes no matter what.
There's no doubt
interesting
about
discussion this morning, you guys. All right, coming up, faith in football. How have the Seattle Seahawks embraced it and the Bible? You don't want to miss this story next on American Sunrise.
The radical left knows exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history. For thousands of Americans, it was the moment their voices were taken.
It's insurrection.
They were persecuted, hunted.
Seditious conspiracy.
But behind prison walls, something unexpected happened. they found their voice again.
Started singing the national anthem.
We took it up to him at Mar-a-Lago. He goes, I'll put my voice on it.
Our supporters made this go platinum.
Real America's Voice is telling the real story of January 6th like you've never seen it before.
Everybody, this must be peaceful.
This is not the story you were shown.
I take responsibility.
This is the story they live.
Government entrapment scheme that this actually was.
The J6 Patriots are no longer staying silent. They are speaking, they are standing, and they are telling the truth.
You can't kill us. You can't beat us.
Scan the QR code or visit RealAmericasVoice.com. Real America's Voice presents The Sleeping Giant. Available now.
God bless the USA.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth.
Welcome back to American Sunrise. It's now time for our moment of faith brought to us by Lee Greenwood and the God Bless the USA Bible. In focus today, faith in the National Football League. Seattle Seahawks players are embracing faith as they held weekly Bible studies in the locker room led by team chaplain Jonathan Rainey and guest leader Scott Lindsey. Players like wide receiver Jake Bobo and quarterback Drew Lock have been deepening their understanding of Scripture and drawing as many as 50 athletes to these prayer sessions. Organizers say the studies show that the same serious focus players apply on the field, they're also now applying to their spiritual lives. For more, let's bring in pastor, evangelist, and the founder of Revival Today, Jonathan Shuttlesworth. Jonathan, always good to see you. So look, I'm going to veer off a little bit because I think this is a perfect transition to a question that I've had that's been kind of burning in my spirit. And it really comes down to Christians using their faith as a lifestyle, that we act our faith out as a lifestyle as opposed to simply a faith or a religion, something that we do day after day after day. Can you put some perspective to that? Are we seeing more of that in society?
It's not even a question. I think since we started doing these segments, there's been such a great revival in America, and that's what's happened. I would say 5 years ago, people didn't talk about Christianity that were Christians. There was this underlying thing that if you're a Christian, you keep it to yourself. And now it's the exact opposite. People want to know about the Bible. You can't turn anything on, Joe Rogan on down the line to this without people talking about the Bible and Jesus Christ and heaven and hell.
Are they, though, living out?
But there's always people that aren't, whether they talk about it or not. And the more you talk about it, one old preacher said, it's hard to fall away from something that you're pushing. Your work, and you're talking to people about Jesus. It's hard to have an affair with the secretary when everybody knows you're claiming to love God. The more public you are with your faith, it helps you and it helps people that are around you.
Amen. We get into this segment talking about the Seattle Seahawks and that they're hosting weekly Bible studies, if you will, and that the players are coming closer to faith. Do you think that success in life tends to draw us nearer to God, or is it the challenges that we deal with in life that force us to depend on Him more?
I'd say challenges, in my opinion, push people towards God. But then God said in Joshua chapter 1, verses 2-9, if you do what I tell you to do, I'll give you good success in everything you do. So a lot of times people reach out to God when they're in a dark time. But what you should do is after God gets you out of a jam, which He will, keep serving Him. And He has much, much more good things for your life.
And the real lesson here seems to be to rest in the Lord. That's actually Scripture.
Yes. Yeah. Trust Him. Don't worry about tomorrow. All that stuff that makes why Christians are on way less antidepressants, because there's a trust. God has my future in His hands. He has plans to prosper me and not to harm me, plans to give me a hope and a future.
So let's get some practical application. We're going to church now, Pastor. The reality is that so many of us deal with various things throughout the week, and we want to be in control. We feel uncomfortable when we're not in control. Give us some practical application, how we step back and how we allow God to take the wheel, as they say.
Well, it's putting God first. Going to church is giving God the first hours of a new week. It's not that you just quit doing anything and let God take control. When you read the Bible, God will give you a plan of action. He'll give you an idea, a way to do what you've been endeavoring to do that's going to accomplish it in a better way with less stress. So it's a partnership with God. It's not just stepping back and letting him do everything. It's getting God's wisdom to successfully do what he's called you to do. And he's promised he'll do that.
All right, Jonathan, go on and pass me the collection plate, because this was my personal Bible study and my personal meeting with the pastor. Always good to talk to you, my friend.
You too, Terrance. Have a great week.
You as well. Jonathan Shuttlesworth joining us this morning. We're back with the second hour of American Sunrise in just a moment.
Introducing the limited edition God Bless the USA Bible, inspired by Lee Greenwood's hit song and the most recognized patriotic anthem in America, God Bless the USA. The God Bless the USA large print leather-bound King James Bible also contains America's founding documents, the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and the Pledge of Allegiance, along with a handwritten chorus to Lee Greenwood's song, God Bless the USA. With its large print and slim design, this Bible invites you to explore God's Word anywhere, anytime. The God Bless the USA Bible makes the perfect gift and cherished family heirloom keepsake to pass on to future generations. Designed for an easy reading experience in the trusted King James Version translation, this large print Bible is perfect to take to church, Bible study, work, and for traveling. Order yours today at GodBlessTheUSABible.com.
Exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history. For thousands of Americans, it was the moment their voices were taken.
It's insurrection.
They were persecuted, hunted.
Seditious conspiracy.
But behind prison walls, something unexpected happened. They found their voice again.
Started singing the national anthem.
We took it up to him at Mar-a-Lago. He goes, I'll put my voice on it.
Our supporters made this go platinum.
Real America's Voice is telling the real story of January 6th like you've never seen it before.
Everybody, this must be peaceful.
This is not the story you were shown.
I take responsibility.
This is the story they live.
Government entrapment scheme that this actually was.
The J6 Patriots are no longer staying silent. They are speaking, they are standing, and they are telling the truth.
You can't kill us. You can't beat us.
Scan the QR code or visit RealAmericasVoice.com. Real America's Voice presents The Sleeping Giant. Available now.
Coming up on the second hour of American Sunrise, Attorney General Pam Bondi erupts on Capitol Hill, clashing with Democrats defending President Trump and igniting a hearing that turned into a full-blown brawl. We'll have reaction to her explosive testimony straight ahead. Plus, a moment on Capitol Hill during the hearing of a growing threat on Sharia law here in America. Lawmakers sparred over the rise of Islamic ideology in our own country. We're going to dig into those details. Also later, President Trump cuts a major Obama-era climate change regulation. You know that little button that turns your car off when you come to a stoplight? Well, there was a press conference yesterday with Secretary Caroline Leavitt calling it the largest deregulatory action in American history. We're going to dig into those details later in the hour. You're going to love this one. These stories, so much more. Second hour of American Sunrise starts right now.
Good morning, America.
Welcome to American Sunrise.
Whether it's culture,
we have breaking news to share with you.
Politics.
President Trump is joining us live now from Florida.
We've got you covered.
This is what it looks like to be a patriot.
We have to protect the American family.
The American dream is still alive.
I'm David Brody.
I'm Terrance.
And I'm Dr. Gina.
Welcome back, everybody, to the second hour of American Sunrise. I'm David Brody, coming to you from D.C. Let's bring in Dr. G in West Palm and T. Bates in our Denver newsroom. Hello, it's the second hour. Yippee, we're back in the triple box. So Tom Homan's got this press conference coming up any moment now in Minneapolis. We will dip in live, if you will, when he starts to speak. Yeah. And we've got that going on. There it is. You can see 2 people are attending, 2 heads, and that's about it. So sparsely attended, Gina, but it's always good with Tom Homan. You never know what he's going to say. He's I always like to say he's straight out of Central Casting.
Oh, he is. Well, yeah.
That's it. I have nothing else to say.
There's definitely no politics there. He's a straight shooter. Looking forward to what he has to say. Earlier this week, you may remember we reported that Tim Walz, the governor there in Minnesota, said that he thinks it's days, not weeks, before the operation there ends. So I'll be listening to hear if, in fact, that's the case, or if Tom Homan refutes that and says, no, we're going to be here for the long haul. It's one of the stories we're watching. Also, 6 Republicans on President Trump's rhino list this morning, guys, after they crossed the political aisle and voted with Democrats to pass a resolution disapproving of President Trump's 25% tariffs on Canada. Representatives Jeff Hurd of Colorado, Kevin Kiley of California, Thomas Massey of Kentucky, Don Bacon of Nebraska, Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania, and Dan Newhouse of Washington are those Republican defectors. President Trump responded with a post on Truth Social saying any Republican in the House or the Senate that votes against tariffs will seriously suffer the consequences come election time, and that includes primaries, the president writes. In the meantime, the Save America Act is one measure that House Republicans appear to be united on. The election overhaul bill, which seeks to tighten voter registration standards, specifically a provision requiring prospective voters to show proof of citizenship in order to register to vote, passed the House by a 218 to 213 margin. Only one Democrat voted to move the legislation out of the House to the Senate. Senate Majority Leader John Thune ruling out changing Senate rules in order to skirt the chamber's 60-vote threshold to pass that bill, though. And Canadians are trying to come to grips with the aftermath of one of the deadliest mass shootings in that country's history. Investigators confirm the shooter is an 18-year-old transgender person who killed his mother and stepbrother before ultimately going to his former high school and murdering 6 more people there. The shooter then turned the gun on himself. Police in British Columbia released the shooter's name on Wednesday following the deadly attack just the day before. That's a quick check of your headlines. Now, let's get you back over to Minneapolis, where Tom Homan is taking the podium right now. We see some action, so I'm going to be quiet and let's listen in.
Good morning. I'm Tom Homan, the board czar of President Trump. I'm going to read a statement real quick. Then after I read the statement, I'll take questions. I'm here with Sam Molson, Director of ICE and Enforcement Removal Operations for the St. Paul Field Office, Stephen Schrenk, Acting Special Agent in charge for ICE Homeland Security Investigations, and Chris Kuhn, Deputy Chief Patrol Agent for the United States Border Patrol. I'm very pleased to report that this search operation and our work here with state and local officials to improve coordination and achieve mutual goals, as well as our efforts to address issues of concern here on the ground, have yielded the successful results we have came here for. The Twin Cities and Minnesota in general are and will continue to be much safer for the communities here because of what we have accomplished under President Trump's leadership. I previously shared with you before I got here. Before I even got here, I met with, I said I was going to meet with the governor, the AG, and the Mayor Fry, Mayor Hurd, and I've done all of that. I've also met with various police chiefs and sheriffs. And one thing we all had in common was the importance of ensuring and maintaining public safety. Overall, we made a lot of progress through extensive engagement, meeting with them and other key stakeholders. And it is expected that those engagements and discussions will continue going forward in order to enhance exchange of information and more coordination. As a result of this surge operation, we have greatly reduced the number of targets for enforcement action. And many criminal aliens have been arrested and taken off the streets. including murderers, sex offenders, national security threats, gang members, and other violent criminals. Just this week, ICE arrested a criminal alien with criminal convictions for rape, acts with a child under 14 years of age with force, lewd and lascivious acts with a child under 14. ICE also arrested 2 criminal aliens with criminal sexual misconduct convictions, among other violent criminals. Through targeted enforcement operations based on reasonable suspicion and prioritizing safety and security, ICE will continue to identify, arrest, and remove illegal aliens that pose a risk to public safety, like we've done for years. And our officers will carry out their duties with professionalism, integrity, and compassion, like we've done for years. We will enforce the immigration law against all persons in the United States illegally. I want to say something about the various unfounded complaints I'm hearing about ICE enforcement operations. During the surge operation, ICE has not arrested anybody inside a hospital. We have not arrested anybody inside of a school, an elementary school. We have not arrested anybody inside a church. As a matter of fact, the only ones that disrespected the sanctuary of a church were the agitators that have been arrested and prosecuted, and so far we have 9 of them. However, those locations are not off the table. I said from day one, there is no sanctuary for a significant public safety threat or national security threat. But as far as those stories about ICE going into churches and arresting people in hospitals, it simply has not happened. And if you have a case where it happened, you let me know. Because all the digging I've done here, I can't find a single one. Under President Trump's direction, we have obtained an unprecedented level of coordination with law enforcement officials that is focused on promoting public safety across the entire state. While I don't agree with Governor Walz and Attorney General Ellis on everything, I appreciate the support the governor gives to state agencies who coordinate with us in a manner intended to promote public safety. And I appreciate the AG having an open dialogue with me. Early on, the first meeting I had, acknowledging that county jails may notify ICE of the release date of an inmate, just as long as they don't hold them past the time they would normally release them. We now have the ability to arrest criminal aliens in the safety and security of jails throughout the state at the time they're being released, like we've done in other states. I've also directed the strategic placement of officers in certain areas throughout the states that can respond quickly to sheriffs that want to release somebody and notify us. We need to be nearby so they don't hold them unnecessarily. So we worked on a strategic plan to reassign officers in those key locations. Arresting a public safety threat in the safety and security of a jail is safer for the alien, it's safer for the officer, and safer for the community. I think we all can agree on that. It requires less resources for at-large operations. It just makes sense. I'll say it again, as I've said many times, we are not asking local law enforcement to act as immigration officers. I don't want them to be immigration officers. We're the immigration officers. We just want them to be cops. We're asking law enforcement to coordinate with other law enforcement to help keep public safety risks out of the communities. We have also strengthened our existing coordination with the state to target and take custody of criminal aliens more efficiently and effectively. As a result of our efforts here, Minnesota is now less of a sanctuary state for criminals. And we are proud of the public safety threats we have removed from the criminal aliens out of the state. As I said in my first press conference a couple weeks ago, President Trump didn't send me here because the operations were being run and conducted perfectly. I came here to identify issues and implement solutions to improve our mission execution. Since that time, in order to improve target enforcement operation, I and my team here, we made personnel changes. We integrated BP with the ICE teams. We established a single unified chain of command structure. We strengthened joint intelligence and targeting capabilities. We deployed body cameras. We increased the footprint of internal affairs. We commuted zero tolerance for misconduct. President Trump also deployed me here to work with state and local officials to de-escalate the intense, volatile reactions and conflicts that have unfolded on the streets here between federal law enforcement and unlawful agitators. While working to course correct and improve how enforcement operations are being run and executed here, and even before I was sent up here, I've been saying over and over that forcibly assaulting, resisting, opposing, impeding, intimidating, or interfering with a federal law enforcement officer is a crime in violation of USC 111. It's not okay. It will not be tolerated. Zero tolerance if you cross that line and put hands on an ICE officer. Not only is such activity unlawful, it is dangerous, and sadly we have seen tragic consequences, as well as adverse impacts on businesses and the communities here in the city. While the Trump administration supports everyone's First Amendment right to freedom of speech and assembly and to petition, it has to be done lawfully and peacefully. Because we will not tolerate unlawful actions committed by agitators who are just causing havoc. This is not the way to express your disagreement or try to reform federal laws. Go talk to your members of Congress if you want the laws changed in this country. Nor is doxing federal law enforcement personnel and their families, it's just not right. Enough is enough with this misguided, reckless, and shameful behavior. We don't want to see any more bloodshed. I don't want to see any more bloodshed. I pray every night for the safety of our law enforcement personnel and the safety of those in the community, whether you're here legally or illegally. I don't want to see anybody harmed. If you break the law, we're going to arrest you. We have already arrested more than 200 people for violations of USC 111. The U.S. Attorney's Office has already accepted many for prosecutions, and some are still pending. I have also received commitments from state and local law enforcement that they will respond if federal law enforcement is being impeded or assaulted. They will shut down unlawful agitator activity, including arresting agitators involved and seeing them follow through. And we're seeing them follow through on those commitments. We've seen this past weekend that the state and local law enforcement have taken action when it comes to public safety. And bless them for doing that. Since I have been here, I've repeatedly emphasized that the unlawful and violent agitator activity is unacceptable and must wind down as a condition for further drawdown of law enforcement personnel. I cannot remove law enforcement personnel while violence poses serious risk to our officers. I will not leave my officers in that position. It is worth knowing that in all my meetings and discussions since I got here, I've not heard one federal, state, local law enforcement, or judicial official, nor any member of the business or faith communities that I met with, say that ICE is an illegitimate agency that doesn't have a real mission. Quite the opposite. All I've heard is the acknowledgement that federal immigration laws passed by Congress do exist, and ICE has a legitimate responsibility to enforce those laws. ICE is a legitimate federal law enforcement agency. We're not out scouring the streets to disappear people or deny people their civil rights or due process. In addition to taking public safety threats off the street, ICE here in this state have located 3,364 missing unaccompanied alien children. Children that the last administration lost and weren't even looking for. That's because the leadership of President Trump, these children were located. As part of the de-escalation efforts, I have called on state and local officials these past few weeks to tone down the rhetoric and denounce unlawful activities being conducted by the agitators. We don't have to agree on everything, and we definitely do not. But we all agree that the lawlessness and chaos and disruption that is occurring on the street needs to end. I want to thank Governor Walz for his messages focusing on peace and his support for the Minnesota State Troopers to respond to unlawful situations that put federal officers and the public at risk. I also want to thank Mayor Frey for taking a public stance against agitators setting up barricades that block streets and endanger public safety, and for directing the police to take those roadblocks down. Additionally, I want to thank Police Chief O'Hara, Sheriff Witt, and various other local law enforcement for their responsiveness and efforts to maintain law and order in the streets. We've seen a big change here in the last couple of weeks, and it's all good changes. I'm also pleased to report that we're seeing a notable decrease in unlawful agitator activity here in Minneapolis and overall throughout the state. This is great news for Minnesota communities that have been adversely impacted by the lawlessness and chaos on the street. We have what we call here QRFs, Quick Response Force, security teams, that get called out when ICE officers are out doing operations. They get into trouble, if agitators get out of control, if there's a danger and public safety is at risk, these QRFs respond to help these officers get off the action and get out of that situation. I asked today when I got here, I want to know what the QRFs call outs are, what their deployments are. I want to know every time a QRF is called out. The QRF deployments have dropped dramatically because we have less of that occurring, less of the agitator that cross that line. That is a good thing. That is a win for everybody, not just for the safety of law enforcement officers. It's a win for this community. With that, and success that has been made arresting public safety threats and other priorities since this search operation began, as well as the unprecedented levels of coordination we have obtained from state officials and local law enforcement, I have proposed, and President Trump has concurred, that this surge operation conclude. A significant drawdown has already been underway this week and will continue to the next week. We have a lot of work to do across this country to remove public safety risk who shouldn't even be in this country, and to deliver on President Trump's promise for strong border security and mass deportation. Law enforcement officers drawn down from this surge operation will either return to their duty stations or be assigned elsewhere to achieve just that. We will continue to enforce Title VIII immigration law throughout this nation. Prioritizing national security threats and public safety risks makes sense. But I'll continue to say over and over again, if you are here in the country legally, you're not exempt from our immigration laws. If we encounter you, we'll take appropriate enforcement action. For those that say we are backing down from immigration enforcement or the promise of mass deportations, you are simply wrong. Look at the data. Record number of arrests and deportations under President Trump's first year. And we'll continue that effort. Prioritizing public safety threats and national security threats doesn't mean we forget about everybody else. We will take action on everybody else. That's just a stone cold fact. A small footprint of personnel will remain for a period of time to close out and transition full command and control back to the field office, as well as to ensure agitator activity continues to decline, and that state and local law enforcement continue to respond to ensure officer and community safety. Additionally, federal government personnel assigned to conduct criminal investigation into the agitators, as well as the personnel assigned here for the fraud investigations, will remain in place until the work is done. I will also remain on the ground for a little longer to oversee the drawdown of this operation and ensure its success. In closing, I want to thank the leadership and senior management that I've worked with for your efforts into these issues, determine deficiencies and challenges, present solutions, and implement improvements that will benefit how operations are run and executed nationwide. God bless the men and women of ICE, men and women of the Border Patrol. Appreciate everything you've done for us. Also, with sincere gratitude, President Trump and I want to thank the men and women of ICE and CBP and partner agencies who have been assigned here during Operation Metro Surge. You achieved a great success for the Minnesota communities. Thank you to your families as well, because I know they sacrifice also. Thank you, President Trump, for your vision, as well as your support and confidence in these brave, dedicated patriots that work hard to deliver on your strong commitment to law and order, public safety, prosperity for American communities. Today, we have the most secure border in American history. We are seeing record numbers of people being arrested and deported. Your promise to make America safe again is being played out every day on the streets of this country. I've said it many times. I worked for 6 different presidents, 10 different administrations. No one has done it better than President Trump. God bless this great country. I'll take questions now.
We'll take a couple questions, no follow-ups. I'll start off with Frankie.
Yep. Mr. Hellman, as immigration enforcement continues across the country here in Minnesota as well, how do you hope to gain the trust of individuals here that have kind of been wary of seeing federal officers on the street, but let's say 6 months from now, we still have the office here, we still are enforcing immigration across the country. What do you hope things to look like, and what are you asking for the public?
Look, I just want people to look at the data on what this administration has done. You know, the number of public safety threats we removed from the streets across this country, that makes these communities safer. ICE has had an office here for decades. Before it was called INS, Immigration Naturalization Service. This footprint will remain here, and they'll continue to do immigration enforcement here. But as President Trump has said from day one, we're going to prioritize the public safety threats. Again, but prioritization doesn't mean forget about everybody else. That means if you have a criminal alien here and non-criminal here, the criminal always comes first because he's the biggest threat to the communities. We're going to continue to force immigration law, but we're going to get back to the footprint here, the normal footprint here. But there will be some security teams staying here, the QRFs, until we're assured that those agitators incidents either stay low or further decline. I'm not going to remove everybody out of the safety of our officers, but like I said, and Operation Metro Surge is ending. And in the next week, we're going to deploy the officers here in detail back to their home stations or other areas of the country that are needed. But we're going to continue to enforce immigration law. That's what the American people voted for. But it has to be a priority of criminals. And look, I hear all the hate about, you know, you should arrest everybody. Well, we are. But we're prioritizing those who are the biggest threat to our community. The rapists, the murderers, the child molesters. That's the right thing to do. But I'll say it again. President Trump made a promise of mass deportation, and that's what this country's going to get. But it's smart law enforcement to do targeted enforcement operations. Now, I've heard people attacking me using the word targeted. I sat for the last 2 months when I watched this operation, daily press briefings talking about targeted operations. Nothing changed, other than we're going to make sure they're targeted and make sure we know who we're going for, what their immigration record, what's their criminal history. That comes first. But enforcement of Title VIII is not going to end. If you're in this country legally, you're not off the table. And I think we're proving that if you look at the data.
Mr. Homer, just had a question about the final number of arrests you had and how many of those people arrested were those targeted security threats you were after?
I don't have that exact breakdown. I know we've made over 4,000 arrests here. That is something local field office can supply. I don't have the exact breakdown. But I can tell you, since I've been on the ground, they've been target enforcement arrests. I believe there were target enforcement arrests before I got here. What I did is create one chain of commands where everybody knows what everybody else is doing, and integrate operation command centers. There were some issues here, and we addressed those issues. But I'm not going to sit here and say anybody did anything wrong, and that they were unprofessional. I'm going to say there's some issues here. We fixed those issues. We've had great success with this operation, and we're leaving Minnesota safer. The surge is leaving Minnesota safer, Minneapolis safer, because of the cooperation we got with the counties and the state and local law enforcement responding to our needs. I'll say it again. It's less of a sanctuary state for criminals.
Yeah, sorry to go a little off topic here, but can you confirm that CPD actually hit a party balloon instead of a drone with a laser during the incident in El Paso? And why wasn't that action coordinated with the FAA?
I have no information on that. It's out of my league.
So we're going to keep the questions to Minnesota topic. Go ahead.
Mr. Norman, can you specify how many county sheriffs, local jails have agreed to work with you and honor ICE detainers?
I have not met one county jail that says no to us. They want to work with us.
Okay, we have time for one more. Go ahead.
Yes, hi, Mr. Homan. Can you talk about this unprecedented level of cooperation between local officials and yourself? Can you explain more what is changed now in terms of that cooperation from before?
Several things have changed. First of all, when the agents were out doing operations and the agitators got a hand and proposed a public safety threat, not just to the officers but to communities, law enforcement response has been sporadic at best. I think at what you see now, what you saw this past weekend, is law enforcement is responding to public safety needs quickly. And people were arrested for violating city ordinances as far as when they, unlawful assembly and so forth. They come to assist us to make sure our officers, the person we have in custody, leave that scene safely. You've seen it this weekend, and I'm happy that the local and state was there also, that responded, and we haven't seen any incidents of them not responding since we have these agreements in place now. As far as the jails, we got more cooperation, more jails than they had before we got here. And that's a good thing. We're having a conversation with the state, and state already accepts our detainers, but we're moving further on our agreements with the state. So the cooperation we have here is going to keep this city safer. It's going to keep our agents safer. Arresting public safety threats in a jail just makes sense. If you look at, I was talking to my chief of staff this morning on the way over here. I see that most people on the other side, and I say the other side, this argument with Democrats versus Republicans, whatever. But most of the people, even Democrats, are saying they want public safety threats to be the focus. They think public safety threats, illegal aliens, should be addressed. But to say that and not let us into jail, you can't square that. I just noticed the governor of New York, my home state. I've heard her say that she believes public safety threat, illegal aliens should be the focus of ICE. But to have a press conference last week to lock us out of the jails and end 287G agreements, how do you square that? You can't. So again, prioritization of public safety threats don't mean we forget about everybody else. We're going to enforce the immigration law, and we're going to have a mass deportation. President Trump promised that, and we're committed to that. However, it shouldn't be a partisan issue that you arrest public safety threats in the safety and security of a jail. Releasing public safety threats back in the public is just stupid. And I've been arguing this for years. And I hope Congress takes action on sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. It makes sense. If you think about it, even the argument I hear, well, victims and witnesses of crime that are in the country illegally want to feel safe to come to law enforcement and to report those crimes without fearing that this law enforcement agency is working with ICE. That's a bunch of crap. Because victims and witnesses of crime don't want the bad guy released to the neighborhood either. We want access to the person that you chose, the local jurisdiction chose, to lock in a jail cell. And we have that cooperation here now. It's the right thing to do, and it makes this community safer. This community is safer because we arrested 4,000 illegal aliens, and it's over 4,000 illegal aliens here. Many of them public safety threat, not all of them. As I said, we're going to force immigration law, but this community is much safer because of President Trump's leadership and the men and women standing on the stage.
Thank you. That's all the questions we're going to take right now.
So you've just been listening to Tom Homan, the border czar there in Minneapolis, talking about the situation on the ground there. The big headline is that there will be a drawdown in the anti-ICE anti-immigration efforts there. That's going to come to an end, or at least draw down. Tom Homan saying that the decision wasn't necessarily based on pressure on the ground, rather the success of the mission so far. We'll, of course, have much more on that throughout the day. But now we do need to get you over to David Brody. David, good morning.
Good morning, T. Bates. All right, look, we're only a few weeks into winter and already brutal cold, huge snowstorms, and of course, all those power outages. I mean, think about this. If the power goes out when it's really cold, do you have a way to keep yourself and your family warm? This is a real problem. We've just saw it. Winter power outages can even be life-threatening, like in Texas a few years ago. And that's why so many Americans are getting a Vesta off-grid heater from My Patriot Supply. It's a space heater that doesn't use electricity or propane. It actually runs on something called canned heat, which is an indoor safe fuel. So with a Vesta stashed in your closet, you know you can keep warm no matter what. It even, by the way, doubles as a stove to cook your food. Hey, I like that, which is pretty cool. Best part is, though, right now you can get the Vesta and a bunch more preparedness gear as free gifts when you order their winter survival kit. And it's from My Patriot Supply. This is what you do. You go to mypatriotsupply.com/RAV to see everything included. And the offer is not going to last long. So once again, go to mypatriotsupply.com/RAV today. Once again, we'll say it 3 times. It's like the Trinity. It's biblical. mypatriotsupply.com/RAV. All right, joining us now with more is preparedness expert Jake Seawolf. Jake, good morning to you. Look, obviously the huge winter storm last month, lots of folks lost power. This is a critical time. Tell us more about what you guys are doing over there. Great stuff.
Oh, absolutely. We just want every American or every citizen to be prepared because, you know, those storms, they knock out power. Just even this last one, 1 million people lost power. And even 10 days afterwards, they estimated between 200,000 and 290,000 people still had no power. A lot of roads and logistics routes were completely closed off, disrupted from 48 to 96 hours in multiple states. Freezing temperatures did lead to some water piping bursts. So now people have water issues, which is scary. Like the big thing is like, even if you live next to a stream or something, can you filter that water cleanly? And we have all those products to help you out with that. The average restoration time for life to get back to normal is about 2 to 4 days. So if you don't have at least a week supply for your family, that can get really dangerous. And I also hate to burst your bubble, but we're actually doing the Mount Rushmore preparedness bundle right now. The one that you just played at first is actually currently over. But it does include our Grid Doctor 3300, which is a big old workhorse. You've got a 4-week food supply, which are these 2 buckets here. Stack them in your closet, put them anywhere. They're amazing. And it really does just cover the 4 big pillars. So you've got your food. Behind me, you've got heat from, this one's for cooking, which is our Inferno Pro with a charcoal burner that sits right on top. Amazing product. And then you've got your water filtration, which is our Alexa Pure Pro. It's our big bad boy, gravity fed. It'll filter anything from down to viruses and stuff. Phenomenal product. People use it every day. I use it every day because the water is just so much more incredible coming out of it. And then you've also got your power, which is the Grid Doctor 3300. That thing is a workhorse. I will have my refrigerator plugged in. I can run my big 12-inch miter saw. I can do so much more. Everything's plugged in. It's got USB-C, USB, high-speed chargers. It's got a RV port on the side. So if your backup home is RV, there's a 30-amp plug right inside. Freaking awesome. And the best part about that unit is you can be charging it while using it. Most units, you cannot do that. So again, take care of yourself, take care of your family.
Well, that's huge. I mean, so many different purposes. It's like there's so much you can get out of the whole kit and everything you're talking about. Where can people go? Once again, give them the information so they know where to go.
Absolutely. So you've got your link, which is mypatriotsupply.com/RAV, Romeo Alpha Victor, for my military folks out there. And then also, I highly recommend to call in to make sure that we get you guys the best deal possible, get it shipping to your house sooner, which is 866-229-0927. We have real American Patriots on the phone ready for you guys. They're starting right now. And we're excited to take your calls. You guys are the best people that we get to talk to, fellow American Patriots, and we freaking love you. So call in.
Right. I love it. We freaking love you. That's the quote of the day.
That's right.
Jake Seawolf, great to have you. All right, time to pick up the phone.
Let's
do it. Get online. Do all your stuff. I appreciate you, as always. Great stuff you're doing. Thank you. All right, we are back in a moment.
This holiday season, Real America's Voice is proud to partner with our friends at Angel Studios for a special giveaway you won't want to miss. As they launch season 2 of their hit series Homestead, we're giving you the chance to win an exclusive Homestead hat absolutely free. Everyone who becomes an Angel Guild member using our link is automatically entered to the contest. When you join, you're supporting meaningful pro-American storytelling, and you're supporting RAV at the same time. Scan the QR code on your screen right now, or text the word RAVAngel to 75802. After you scan or text, make sure you follow the steps provided. When you complete the steps and join the Angel Guild, you'll be automatically entered to win that exclusive Homestead hat, a perfect holiday gift for yourself or someone you love.
Be one of the first 50 people to sign up and win a hat automatically. Hurry while there's still time.
So scan that QR code or text RAVAngel to 75802. Happy holidays from all of us at RAV.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials.
All right, welcome back to American Sunrise. I'm Dr. G. Thanks for joining us this morning. We invite you to hop on in our conversation on YouTube, Getter, and Rumble. It's getting hot in there, I'll tell you what. A big debates happening inside our chats. Join in. It is time now to take the political pulse of America, the beat today. We just heard from White House border czar Tom Homan speaking from Minneapolis just moments ago, announcing he'll be remaining on the ground as federal agents begin to withdraw from Minnesota. Want to bring in David and Terrance to discuss. I like it, guys.
Yeah.
I'm discouraged.
Oh,
I don't think we should have backed down at all.
Gina, I am with you. Can we just call this out for what it is? The White House blinked. The White House blinked. Let's just be honest. Can we just have an honest conversation? We always do here, right?
Yeah.
The White House blinked. I mean, that's the truth. Sorry, I know we don't want to hear it. You might not want to hear it. And I get it. Local jails are going to cooperate more. Great. Law enforcement is helping out now more. That's great. All true, by the way, all true. And that's the way to save some face here. But the truth of the matter is that they got out of Dodge. They got out of Dodge pronto because it was bad PR. And that's what really happened here. So, look, you can say it's a good move or it's a bad move. I don't know. You all make up your mind. I'm just simply saying that frying walls are smiling right now. Yeah. That's all I want to say. And that's the truth, guys. That is the straight up truth. Oh, 100%. 100%. Let's not sugarcoat this, T. Bates.
I would tend to agree with you. And I even think, and not that I'm an expert in body language, but I think anyone watching that presser and watching the border czar, it was clear he's not necessarily happy with the way this is going. That's the impression I got. And again, I think he's saying, look, I'm going to still be here to let people know that the work is still going to go. Yeah, the White House may have blinked, the administration may have blinked, but the work is going to continue. And I think the implication is also that there's still lots of work to be done. Yes, there have been some victories when it comes to arrests, but there's still a good bit of work to be done there in Minneapolis. That's my impression.
He's going to be on the ground for a couple of days and then he's out. I mean, this whole thing about he's on the ground still. Oh, of course. Of course. All right, 3 days, maybe 4. You know what? I'll give you 5 and then I'm done. The point is he's gone. They're all gone. It's just this idea of a phase out, a drawdown. Give me a break. They're gone.
Yeah.
They're gone.
I mean,
MAGA's got to be ticked. I'm sorry, MAGA's got to be ticked.
As you know, I watch the chats, and it's a discouraged look right now on the face of MAGA. It just is. Joining us now with analysis is the host of America's Voice Live and the Steve Gruber Show. Steve, you know, I don't know. I voted, and a lot of people in MAGA are saying they voted for mass deportations of criminal illegal aliens because all illegal aliens have committed a crime. Steve, why is this complicated?
It's not complicated until you get into the polling numbers. Look, I've been talking to members of Congress, Republicans, that are friends of mine in Congress, and they say the polling numbers here are terrible. Yeah, the White House may have blinked, but they also realize how important November 2026 truly is. Because if this remains in the headlines and you continue to see this chaos and this nonsense, although it is created by the Democrats and perpetrated by and paid for by leftist radicals both inside this country and out, it polls terribly with the American people. And I'm not talking about the 42% to 44% that are never leaving the Republicans. There's a floor there. I'm talking about that group in the middle. That group in the middle that the Republicans must have to hang on to the House, because if you don't get the House, what you saw today won't even matter. Because it'll be 2 years of impeaching Donald Trump. It'll be 2 years of trying to investigate Trump's administration. It'll be harassing Kristi Noem. It'll be harassing Tom Homan. It'll be harassing all of them continuously, even though it's unwarranted. They are doing the job that needs to be done. It's a tough job. It's an underappreciated job. It's a thankless job. It does need to be done. It does need to continue. And I think it will continue. They're going to do it more quietly. And they have gotten some cooperation out of Minnesota. They've gotten some people in the jails there to turn over those illegals in the country that have been arrested. And look, that's the way it works in other states. You don't see this anywhere else except Minneapolis. So ratcheting down the heat there a little bit to get it out of the news cycle, I understand why they blinked. I'm not necessarily a fan of it, but I understand it. There's a political reality here, and that political reality shows up November 2026. And in order for Donald Trump to continue doing the good things, like the jobs number yesterday coming in double what it was supposed to continue to do the good things for the American people, he has to have the House of Representatives. This is a political calculation. Yeah. It's one they're making, and they're making it because the polling numbers, like I say, for what we've seen in Minneapolis, whether you like it or don't like it or think it's the right thing, the polling numbers on those in the middle is terrible. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference between holding the House and losing the House, which is more important. You know, we say this every time, guys, but this is the most important election of my lifetime. Again, it seems to get more important and more urgent every single time, because if they get control of the House, those being the radical leftists, all this work gets destroyed. And we do nothing for 2 years except sit in hearings and hear nonsense and pontificating and speeches for social media clicks. We do nothing real as a country. We need to stay on the path we're on. The best way to stay on that path is not to get knocked off by a distraction in Minneapolis.
Yeah, Steve, I actually agree with you totally.
I don't.
Look, they lost. well, let's talk about it then, because here's the thing. They lost the battle. We're all agreeing they lost the battle. But to win the war, right? I mean, isn't the war the midterm elections? I mean, you know, Gina, I'm curious. Gina, go ahead. You say you disagree.
Yeah,
so
but
please.
if you lose your base and your base stays home because they don't feel like you're reacting to polling, I think that affects, guess what? Your polling. I think if a retreat is perceived here, that affects polling too, and we have to be cognizant. This reminds me of the days back John McCain and George Bush, where we're sticking a finger in the air and deciding what our policy is. No, our policy is what we voted for. That's our policy.
Newsflash.
We stay strong. Listen, the Democrats do a great job on this.
The base stayed home in 2022. The base stayed home in 2022. How'd that work out for us? The base didn't do very well in 2018 either. How'd that work out for us? We have to have the base. I agree with you there.
That's what I'm saying.
But if you blow away the independence, you're going to lose.
Point. No, I disagree. You lose the base, you lose all your momentum, you lose everything. I don't want to trample on all the other hosts' time, so I'm going to shut up now. But I feel like there are two sides to this polling coin. I think you lose your base and you're in trouble too.
Well, I can assure you, the Republican, very conservative members of Congress that are friends of mine that I speak to on a regular basis, they say it's polling terribly in districts in Michigan, in Wisconsin, in South Carolina. It's polling badly. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. These are internal polls. These are not Gallup polls or some MSNBC poll. These are internal polls from the candidates saying that they are in real trouble if that continues to be the front page news every day. So I understand we have to keep the base. I get that. But you can't forfeit the people in the middle because you lose either way in that scenario. So continue to do the job. Keep the deportations going but do it more quietly, I suppose. But you have to do it in a way that does not alienate those people that are going to make the difference in the midterm elections, and those are people that are not necessarily MAGA. They might be conservative. They might be just center-right. They're people that are not going to vote for this if they see that. Look, we got out-messaged here. That's the bottom line. Can the Republicans not find their way to K Street? I mean, it's not that far from Congress to walk over to K Street and find a PR company that can get the job done, because they've done a terrible job, again, at messaging. The Democrats are always lockstep. Their message is always the same. And Republicans can't seem to get their act together when it comes to getting a message out that's coherent, cohesive, and understandable.
Yeah. Got some passion in the quad box today.
Yeah. Well, we'll all be discussing this for the weeks to come. Steve Cooper, thanks for being with us.
Thanks,
guys.
All right, an organic skincare brand called Purience has been turning heads recently in Elle Cosmopolitan and LA Weekly. To date, they've helped over 60,000 women fall in love with their complexion again. Purience delivers clean, organic skincare without harsh preservatives. Their Cellular Restore Serum features a gentle alternative to retinol called Bacucoil. In a small focus group, 92.9% of women saw fewer wrinkles after just 3 weeks of applying Cellular Restore Serum. Their Cellular Hydration Serum contains tremella mushroom, which hydrates at the deepest layers of skin better than hyaluronic acid. Then there's Lift and Glow Organic Eye Cream. So if you want to lighten the appearance of dark under eye circles and restore radiant complexion, then you're going to love Lift and Glow. Finally, they have Glow Serum. Even Glow Serum it is. Even Glow features a Kakadu plum, which delivers 100 times more concentrated vitamin C than oranges. Even Glow works wonders for reducing dark spot appearance. And right now, for just a limited time, you can save 35% on all Purience products. 35%, you guys. Just do this. Go to Purience.com, enter your coupon code early at the checkout. That's PUREANCE.com. Coupon code EARLY. That'll save you 35% on your order today. All right, you guys, still to come on American Sunrise. Emily Fenn continues her special report on the great faith mysteries. After the break, she's digging into the miracle of the sun that captured the imagination of many all the way back in 1917. Oh, you guys, we're only halfway through the week. Stay with us. You won't want to miss this.
This holiday season, Real America's Voice is proud to partner with our friends at Angel Studios for a special giveaway you won't want to miss. As they launch season 2 of their hit series Homestead, we're giving you the chance to win an exclusive Homestead hat absolutely free. Everyone who becomes an Angel Guild member using our link is automatically entered to the contest. When you join, you're supporting meaningful pro-American storytelling, and you're supporting RAV at the same time. Scan the QR code on your screen right now, or text the word RAVAngel to 75802. After you scan or text, make sure you follow the steps provided. When you complete the steps and join the Angel Guild, you'll be automatically entered to win that exclusive Homestead hat, a perfect holiday gift for yourself or someone you love.
Be one of the first 50 people to sign up and win a hat automatically. Hurry while there's still time.
So scan that QR code or text RAVAngel to 75802. Happy holidays from all of us at RAV.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials.
Welcome back to American Sunrise. Today we are going beyond faith, taking a closer look at some of the most mysterious topics in Christianity. In 1970, the Blessed Virgin Mary appeared 6 times to 3 young children in Fatima, Portugal. Her messages of prayer, penance, and devotion to her Immaculate Heart all culminated in the miracle of the sun, when tens of thousands witnessed the sun dance, spin, and plunge toward the earth before returning to normal. Tens of thousands had the same story about what happened that day. Devotion to Our Lady of Fatima and other approved Marian apparitions continues to flourish in the Catholic Church, inviting the faithful to pray the Rosary daily, observe the first Saturday's devotion, and place their trust in Mary's powerful intercession for peace and the salvation of souls. Let's welcome back to the show John Yep, the president of Catholics for Catholics. Great to have you back with us, John. I mean, tens of thousands of people all saw the sun do this. That's a miracle. You can't even try to say that that didn't happen.
I'm glad you went right there on the number. So before the doubters doubt, okay, about this supposed apparition to 3 little children in Portugal in 1917, just remember this. At the very last apparition, October 13th, 70,000 people, as reported by our favorite newspaper, the New York Times, actually reported that that amount of people saw what looked like the sun. It was a rainy day. It was the final apparition. Mary had promised these kids, look, I'm going to come with a miracle, because everyone was doubting them. Like, okay, yeah, sure, you're seeing Mary, whatever. She said, I will come and I will show the power of Christ on that day. Pouring rain, thousands show up, and then as we know, the sun started to get closer to the earth, and it got closer and closer, and everyone's clothes were dried. There were numerous miracles that happened, and then many people reported seeing actually the Mary and Joseph and Jesus there in the sky to give their blessing upon the world. So, I mean, apart from the dazzling miracle that which that was, like you just said, what was the message of Fatima? Because on one of those earlier apparitions, the Blessed Mother allowed the kids to actually see hell. I remember going there, Emily and myself, and just standing on the exact location where, according to these 3 kids, which I believe myself and thousands of others, the ground actually opened up. Those kids saw what happens if we reject God in our life, to spend an eternity away from God. So a really powerful story. The takeaway, besides there's 3 secrets, I could talk about this forever, right? You could do like 5 segments on this, but was to pray the Rosary, right? What is the Rosary? It's this little thing, right? It's just a way for us to ask Mary for help to meditate on what Jesus Christ lived through in his life, okay? So a lot to say there. I don't know. Yeah. Follow-up questions, Emily? I mean, you could talk forever on this amazing topic.
John, incredible. The Blessed Mother's message has been consistent through all of her apparitions. Guadalupe, Knock, Ireland, so many that we could discuss. I wish we had more time. John Yet, thank you so much for joining us, and hope that we can get you back tomorrow to discuss more topics beyond faith. We'll be right back with more American Sunrise in just a moment. Stay with us.
This holiday season, Real America's Voice is proud to partner with our friends at Angel Studios for a special giveaway you won't want to miss. As they launch season 2 of their hit series Homestead, we're giving you the chance to win an exclusive Homestead hat absolutely free. Everyone who becomes an Angel Guild member using our link is automatically entered to the contest. When you join, you're supporting meaningful pro-American storytelling, and you're supporting RAV at the same time. Scan the QR code on your screen right now, or text the word RAV Angel to 75802. After you scan or text, make sure you follow the steps provided. When you complete the steps and join the Angel Guild, you'll be automatically entered to win that exclusive Homestead hat, a perfect holiday gift for yourself or someone you love.
Be one of the first 50 people to sign up and win a hat automatically. Hurry while there's still time.
So scan that QR code or text RAV Angel to 75802. Happy holidays from all of us at RAV.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials.
Welcome back to American Sunrise. Terrance? Do we have Terrance?
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here. I'm awake.
I heard producers saying, Terrance, we're coming back. All right. We are so happy that each and every one of you joined us. I love the spirited debate in the chats. Listen, I learned so much there. I figure out what to read, what documentaries to watch. Oh, my goodness, I watched an amazing one last night that was suggested in our chat. Anyway, it is time now for the one to watch. Here's what I'm keeping my eye on today. After years of targeting President Trump over the Epstein files, the mainstream media is now acknowledging what had been clear the whole time. Trump helped law enforcement bring Epstein down, not protect him. A newly revealed 2019 FBI interview with former Palm Beach Police Chief Michael Ryder shows Trump urged police to focus on Ghislaine Maxwell. All the way back in 2006, Trump called her evil and said he got the hell out of there when teens were present. Oof. It's a reversal that undercuts the mainstream media's months-long obsession with tying Trump to Epstein and raises serious questions about why the facts were ignored for so long. This won't be the last thing the mainstream media has to walk back on this developing story. David, there's a lot, and kudos. I think the strongest kudos here go to all the conspiracy theorists who have stood by their stories all these times, and now we're all going, whoa, they were right.
Yeah. And just think, we haven't even seen all the documents yet.
That's right.
This is right. So there's that. By the way, I was just sickened at the hearing yesterday with Pam Bondi when the Democrats were just trying to play this moral superiority card. I mean, it was literally sickening me to hear them complain and just how horrible this DOJ has been when it comes to Epstein. This DOJ has done more about Epstein than the Biden DOJ or the Obama DOJ. So give me a freaking break, T. Bates.
No, agreed, but there's still so much more work to be done, David.
Well,
and I don't think that we can rest on it.
But they're being selective about it.
And it was a bad start. It was a bad start, David Brody. You have to admit that.
Thank you, Dr. Gina. Go ahead. I'll let you two have a conversation.
I'm sorry, Terrance.
Wait, what do you mean?
Hop in, Terrance.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
You
I was trying to make
go.
a point. I'm good. Go ahead.
No, just the folders with everybody, with Rogan O'Hanley and all that. That's all.
Oh, no, 100%. Please, T. Bates, continue.
No, I was simply saying that there's still work to be done, and that we can't rest on our laurels, that we still have to put the pressure on to release as much information. And beyond that, Dr. Gina, I think you've repeatedly made this point, and I fully agree with you, that we've got to push for culpability, that there need to be arrests, and we can't just get the information out. The information being out alone isn't going to do it. Somebody needs to pay, particularly if it's proof. First of all, somebody needs to be prosecuted, and I suspect that if there are prosecutions, those prosecutions will be successful and people need to go to prison. That's all.
Yeah, I just want to be clear. The Trump DOJ, and I've been very clear about this on the show many